seen a soundboard before, know the basic layout. There's a bunch of sliders, right? So the foundation of the soundboard is something called a channel. It's basically a unit for sending an instrument, a vocal, one basically unit of sound, and you control the volume through that. So a soundboard will control a bunch of channels. The size of the soundboard, say if we say a 64 channel, then it means you can handle 64 individual signals coming into the board at once. So the foundation of the soundboard is any instrument you want to be heard by itself on stage has to be plugged into its own channel. All right? Now we have, I'll spare you a ton of the gory details, we have a digital system here at the church. So anything you plug in, like a microphone, is regular old-fashioned analog. But when you plug it into the stage, it goes to a box back here which digitizes it into a bunch of ones and zeros for the computer, and it goes back up to the board in a Cat5 cable. So you don't really need to know that practically, but just know that somehow stuff is getting converted into a digital system. So if you guys want to come up on stage with me. We have a bunch of these boxes on stage. So this is where basically you'll plug in an instrument to send it back up to the board. Okay, so there's two ends of a connection, male and female. I'll let you guys figure out how they made that determination. But basically, these plugs are going to be female, and you'll see they're labeled. So you have channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this box here, that box there, and this box there, so they're all three. These all provide you a subset, meaning a smaller group of channels that you can use to send things up to the board. I'm just going to use an example. Whoever you see up here on the acoustic guitar every Sunday morning, they're always going to be plugged into channel 7.
And it's via a direct box first, right?
Right, yeah. And channel 7 is right here. So you're going to hear a lot of numbers, a lot of things called channels. Basically, it's just we usually use channel 7 to send an acoustic guitar signal. So you're going to start having to map. You're not going to have to memorize them, but you're going to map numbers to instruments. And it all depends on where it's plugged in. So in theory, if I plugged in the acoustic guitar into channel 8, then you would look for it in channel 8 up at the board. Okay?
And it'll be giving a signal. You'll see it.
Right.
Then you'll know, oh, put that in 7 because I got it on my board, labeled as 7. Right?
Does that make sense so far? The idea of channels, you send one instrument through one channel and it gets a number associated with it. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm going to show you one more thing back here. So what is this big panel? Well, it's essentially one of those stage boxes that we just used, but bigger, right? So this is every channel that you can send back to the board. We have one on this side and one on that side in an identical location. All right, so all it is the same thing. If you want to send something in to the board up at channel 7, you plug it into channel 7. There are a few other things on here. I'm just going to mention them briefly so you don't get confused. Tie lines. This is just a built-in way to send extra channels. We never use them, so don't worry about tie lines. Intercom, we have headset units, which there's probably one on the other side. The stage crew uses them to talk back and forth during productions. Doesn't matter which one you... actually, it does. We always use COM A. So it just means all the headsets are connected together on the same system. So COM A is the one COM system, COM B is the other, so we use COM A. I guess while we're on stage, I'll get into one more thing. So when the musicians are playing on Sunday mornings, we have the overall main mix, which comes out of these speakers up here, right? So that's what the congregation will hear, all right? But the musicians themselves, it would be really hard for me to play along in time to the music if I could only hear it out there, right? None of those speakers are pointing towards me. I got to be ahead of the game. So we have these units called M48s. Basically, they're personal monitor mixes, and all I'm going to explain today is that they allow the musicians to mix their own personal mix so they can hear the instruments they need to stay in time and to play well. All right? So this is another system that gets handled, but think of it as two separate things. Monitors are how musicians can hear the mix, and the main mix is how the sound guy and everyone else can hear the mix. All right? Does that all make sense so far?
Yes. What's that thing called right there? The big thing on the wall?
I don't know what it's called, honestly. It's just a microphone input.
Patch panel, maybe?
Sure, just call it that.
Patch panel?
Sure.
I got a question.
Yeah.
If you're plugged in 7 out there, and you plug in here also with another instrument, does that work?
Right, like, can you have two at the same time?
Yeah.
The answer is nothing catastrophic happens,
Right.
but what happens if you have a duplicate channel plugged in, it'll actually half the volume on each, and something weird will happen. So basically, think of it like this. You should only have one thing plugged in
Each.
to a number. So if you plug in it back here or up there, it's fine, but only have one plugged in.
So
Yeah, Keith.
Derek, kind of feeding your question here. So
Yeah.
what is the sound person's role? The musician makes their monitor mix. What is your interaction with these M48 monitors? What is the sound person's role?
Essentially, there's like a background control that you can use to make sure a person's mix is good. For the most part, if I turn on the board, I'm just loading a bass mix for them so that they have the basics and they can turn all the knobs themselves. So for the most part, I'm not really touching the musician's monitor mix. And this is a huge benefit to the system we have here, which a lot of sound guys would kill for. The fact that you don't have to sit there and the keyboardist goes, hey, I need more guitar, and you have to find his channel and turn up the guitar and say, is that good enough? And the guy goes, no, a little less. So we don't have to do that. They do it themselves. And it's
Can
a
you
huge
show
benefit.
us how to reboot the monitor? You know, when it's frozen, we have no control over it.
Mhm.
So that's a sound person's job. If sometimes I'll be a musician, I'll be up here and, hey, I have no control over my channel, so I'll have to reboot the M48.
Right,
So
right.
we need to know how to do that.
And from a hardware perspective, right, how are these guys plugged in? It's just a regular old computer cable. This is like a Cat5 network cable. So remember the whole digital system thing? Well, think about it, it's like computers. So you plug this in here, and the unit itself has a unique identifier. So all you have to do is just find one of these open Cat5 plugs here. So there's 3 on this box, and 1 for each stage box on the front, and then 3 on that side. So
And it really doesn't matter which one you plug it in.
it doesn't, because it's digital, so it knows what the unit is. Setup guys will typically take care of plugging this in, but just know that, you know, if there are no lights, probably not plugged in. So that's pretty good. All right.
There's no level set on that panel. It's
Nope.
just always there, right there.
Yep.
So you have one of each for each musician?
We have 8 total. So if you have more than 8
Okay.
musicians, you
You
got
have
to
to
start
share.
doing some
Yeah.
black magic. But
You got to share.
yeah, you got to share,
Share.
do something else tricky. So, all right, is everyone tracking with me? Everyone good? If you any question at any time, just interrupt me.
You
Go-
said
I
something
go
a while
quickly.
back. You said the monitors are how music is heard by the musicians, and what was the other thing?
Oh, and the mains
Means.
are how the sound guy and everyone else will hear it. So mains, think about mains house,
Okay.
right? That's the house. They'll hear that, but the musicians would hear their own mix.
That's great.
There are times when I'm doing a setup and I want to isolate and listen to one instrument, so I'll just put like only the kick drum out in the house. But believe it or not, it doesn't bother the musicians that much because they have their own headphones and they still hear the full mix. So it just gives the idea that it's kind of separate.
I was going to ask you about those headphones. What are they for? What are they doing with them?
Yeah,
Why
so
do they have them?
yeah, basically they plug the headphones in here,
Yeah.
and it's how they hear the output of their own mix.
Their own stuff. Okay.
Yep, that's why the musicians always have headphones up here.
Yeah, monitors basically go this way, mains go that way. That's just a simple way of thinking about it. Monitors come into the musicians, and then mains to everybody congregationally, you know.
Okay, we're going to go over the supply closet real quick so I can just show you where everything's stored.
I'll open it up. You don't have to get the key, Derek.
Okay. Okay, so this part of backstage just happens to be where we mic guitar amps. So what we do is basically these help absorb the sound. So we'll put the amp here facing a microphone. That microphone goes into here in one of the channels, and that's your electric guitar. So one mic for one amp, one channel, and it goes back to the board.
And usually, all the guitar players, we do our own miking because there's a speaker cone. If you put it on there, it's too muffly and bassy. So we position our own mics, so you wouldn't have to worry about that.
Hey, let's just so everybody's
Bass
here,
players are direct.
guys. Let's just so everybody understands what's happening here. This is a guitar amp. This is what he's talking about. Okay, so this amp will be set down inside this little cage.
Speaker.
Okay. Derek, talk us through this. Does he put a lid on this even?
Yeah, basically, you
Okay, guys,
have
watch
these
this.
3 boxes like this, and you put them as close together, and you put the lid on, kind of like this.
So that way, a
Try
tube
to isolate.
amp, you need to get the tone by cranking it. It
Right.
warms the tubes
I know,
up.
number 11.
And then that way it's a little too loud back here. Just put the lid on it, it muffles.
It just muffles it, but it keeps the sound clear for the mic. Make sense?
Hey, sir, one question on tie lines I'm not
Yeah.
familiar with. What did you say about them? We don't use them?
Don't worry about them.
Just don't worry about it?
Don't worry about them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they are.
Yep.
Now, if you ever need a mic, use this type of mic, the Shure, what's it, 47?
57, yeah.
57. It takes sound direct, so you put it right up on different types of mics won't work, so you'll learn that down the line.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the supply closet.
Thank you.
So everybody just kind of squeeze in here. We'll try to fit you all. This is where we keep basically all of the portable sound equipment. And it's kind of, we have some artifacts back from when we used to move the church in trailers. But a lot of things are still stored in bins. So if you look here on the wall, we have a bunch of cables. There really aren't that many types of cables. I'll give you just a brief introduction, right? Because some of you guys have already done stage stuff. If you guys see this cable, right, this is an XLR. Don't ask me how it got the name. I didn't bother to look it up. This is a male end. This is a female end. And Ed has already done us the service of labeling the length. So if any of you guys are good estimators of distance and you know you need a cable to go from the keyboard to the back, probably a 12-foot cable is probably not going to make it. Anytime the setup guys have to plug in an additional instrument, they will use an XLR. So most instruments, I guess you guys are familiar with the concept of inputs and outputs, right? Input is just sending a signal into a device. So anything we take from the stage, we go into the soundboard. Output, something coming out from the instrument. So a guitar has an output. Most instruments will have what's called a 1/4 inch. I think it's because, I don't know, something about this is a 1/4 inch long. But it'll be this guy to this guy, male, and you'll plug this into an electric guitar, for instance, and it'll come out this place. The place where we make the link, because you guys noticed the stage boxes, right? There's our XLR input. That's this cable. You can't go from this to this directly. So we have a box that we keep here called a direct box. And there's an electrical engineering answer to why we use this. Basically prevents ground loops and buzz and all kinds of nasty electrical problems. But if you think about it in a simpler way, it just converts a 1/4 inch signal to an XLR signal. And there's only one way that you can plug in the XLR. So don't have to worry about getting confused with that.
Dummy plug in.
Exactly.
Now, Derek, on the other side of that, it says in and out. It doesn't matter where you plug that, does it?
Nope. This has 2 inputs. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because I don't know. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But essentially, yeah, wherever you plug this in, it'll work fine. Last thing to notice on this box, I'm a hands-on guy, so go ahead and pass a few of these around if you want to just take a look at them. On this box, there's a switch on the back. It has a number and then the letters dB. dB is a term we use as sound guys a lot. It stands for decibels. It's a way of measuring volume. And a quick fun fact for you: when you get I'm not going to get the bass right. Bass meaning the number, but basically, if you go from 80 decibels to 90 decibels, you're not increasing 10 units. You're actually doubling your volume. So to give you about an idea, if someone says, "Oh, what's the dB at the board? How loud is the room?" Right? And the guy says, "Oh, it's 90 decibels." And if you tell them, oh, just crank it up to 100, you're doubling the volume. 100 decibels is like ear bleeding loud. Or concert loud. So not ear bleeding loud, but
just so everybody knows, a little fun fact: the band Wasp toured at 100 decibels.
Yeah,
so you know,
and
insane.
Most concerts will be that loud, but
like in my generation.
At the soundboard, we shoot for 90. 90 should be where you're at most of the time. If there's a really pumping song that's building and things like that, we can let 9 go up to 92, but you're like that's like for an instant, and you got to bring it back down. Basically, the way I like to think about it, at 90 dB, anytime you go over that, you're going to get people complaining to you.
Yep. And
so you have to make a decision up at the soundboard. You know, is the 5 seconds of the climax of this song, is that worth that bump, or am I not paying attention to my riding 92 the whole time? That's just going to be too loud for Sunday.
And then it becomes a distraction to the audience. I get a text from Jason. I got to go run up, talk to the sound guy, which is uncomfortable because he's running the board. And so.
Now, another clarification I want to make. Whenever you use those direct boxes, you want to keep it on the lowest dB setting, correct?
Oh yeah. That's why I wanted to show you guys this. Yeah,
And
there's
then
3
also on the
settings.
ground and lift.
What's the name
You
of
always
that
want
box?
it to be on lift.
This is a direct box.
Direct box.
Okay, these 3 notches. The bottom one says 0, and the top one says -40. It's exactly what it sounds. If it's put up here, it decreases the volume of the signal. For the most part, let the sound guys handle the signal, which are you guys, up at the board, and leave it at 0 decibels. Okay?
And now the lift and the ground, we keep that on lift, right?
Yes, lift does that electrical engineer mumbo jumbo, where it protects, it shields the signal from that buzz. Ground will not do that.
Just doing stage crew.
Yeah.
I've always been told your dad even said put the ground on, except for the keyboards. I lift the ground.
Okay.
So what's the story there?
For the keyboards, lift the ground, and for everything else, leave the ground off.
That makes sense.
Thanks, Dad.
Hey, Derek,
Yeah.
can you just define which instruments use a direct box and which ones are
That's a good idea.
analog with a microphone?
Yeah. As much as you guys can visualize, because we don't have a guitar out, but I'll show you the keyboard because it's just like it. So let's go out here.
By the way,
Yeah.
question, who came up with the number 90? Just interesting.
You mean why is that the preferred sound level?
Yeah.
I guess just through doing it, and it's less about the number and more about how loud it actually is. And I don't know. It's just something my dad, back when he was leading sound, figured that was the best. Good volume, warm enough for people not to feel like, wow, like this is weird, this is really quiet. But it's not too loud where people are uncomfortable. So there's going to be people that think it's too loud. There's going to be people that think it's too quiet. But most people are able to sit somewhere. Okay, yeah. So when you mic the electric guitar, right? This is going to use a microphone. And anytime you use a microphone, it's going to be an XLR input. When you go to the keyboard,
and then you punch that right. You put it right into the right channel.
Yep.
The end of the XLR. I'm like channel 30 here.
Notice that all the drums, right? Those are physical microphones, so they're all going to be XLR inputs.
Right, the drums aren't direct box, right?
No.
They're just direct line in.
Unless we had the V drums, they're all on V drums, it's a different output. They're electric, electronic.
Keyboard is a regular 1/4-inch output. So notice that we use these guys, and what do we use to convert them? We use 2 direct boxes, and they're set to ground on that. So, all right.
2 outputs because it's stereo.
Stereo.
That was a good question here. Why do you use 2 for this instrument as opposed to 1 for a guitar?
Yeah. Essentially, some keyboard patches or sounds will have kind of a panning effect. So you'll hold a patch like a synth, and sometimes you'll hear it go back and forth in your ears. So that's why if we have 2 channels left and right, you're able to get that kind of distinction. If you only go mono, then you're just hearing the same volume, the same thing in both ears. So a weird thing that would happen is if you had a left and right panning sound and you only had one plugged in, you would hear it just pulse. Yeah. Make sense?
Kind of like having a stereo as opposed to a mono.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Stereo is 2, so left and right. Mono is 1.
So they are taking like 2 channels for the keyboard.
Yep. All right. So all I wanted you guys to pick up from that is you have a few types of cables. You have 1/4 inch, which you're going to use for the keyboard. This is the output. We actually have some stickers on there so you can see where it's supposed to go. And you have XLRs, which are used for mics. Notice all the drums, those are mics, those use XLRs, okay? In addition, you should just know that sound closet is where all the stuff is kept. Ed is the master commander of that area. He knows where everything is, and if you can't find something, he'll know where it is or how to track it down.
Who's the master commander?
Ed is.
Awesome.
All right, let's go up to the board now. Let's actually look at sound guy stuff, right? It's a tiny booth.
Hey Derek, I want to, can I move this back to see the board? Nice.
You do whatever you got to do. Okay, you guys all made it up here. It's kind of a climb. You make it a few times, you get out of the way. This is the soundboard. So this is what controls all the sound. As this name. How do we see everything's dark? So how do we turn everything on? Everything is on the same power grid or power control. So if you guys come around on this side, you'll see this rack unit here. This houses a bunch of the tools we use up here. And notice how there's a big green button and a big red button. So just like you might think, green means on, red means off. So to turn on the system, I'm going to just push the green button in and it's going to flicker. You'll see units start to light up. The board gives you a little hello. And you're just going to wait till everything. Once you see kind of the sliders move, you know that you're up. Computer you turn on manually. What do we use a computer for? Well, remember how I said the board is digital. You can actually remote control the board and work from the computer to do some of the similar stuff you would do from the board. I find that for one tool set in particular, it's a better interface, but I don't have to worry about that. Oh, look, safe mode. Okay, so everybody kind of just take a look at the board, gather around if you can.
You know, you can see the board really well up here if you guys are too tight down there.
Okay, so remember how I talked about the concept of channels, right? So every instrument has its own channel. Up here, you'll see a bunch of sliders. These sliders are kind of like the physical representation of the channel. So for each slider that you see, you're going to have a channel for it. What's confusing is, I'm going to tell you this is a 48-channel board, but if you're skeptical, you'll start counting channels and you realize there's only 24 sliders. So where does that number 48 come from? Because the board is digital, we can do some computer stuff in the background, and the board will maintain the memory. It knows where the sliders are. So picture a normal analog soundboard that you guys might have seen working from stuff. Those things were really long, right? And you just had endless sliders, a lot of knobs that look like this, right? Where are all the knobs? Well, we don't, since it's not physical electronics for every single channel, we can kind of compact a lot of it and just change what channel we have selected. Does that make sense? Kind of just roughly. So, where do we get the 48 channels from? We have these 3 layer buttons, all right? Layer is kind of like what it sounds like. So, on the channel 1 through 24 layer, all the sliders you see correspond to channels 1 through 24. On the channel 25 through 48 layer, so to switch layers, I'm going to press this button. Channel 25 through 48 now refers to channels 25 through 48. So the board will maintain memory to remember where the sliders are. So if I go back to the first layer, channel 1 through 24, let's say I just want to turn everything off. Oops. I also want to break one of the sliders off. It just goes back in the middle. Right? I want to turn everything off. I go back over here. Notice how the board maintains a memory for where the sliders were. So that's cool. These red buttons are mutes. So what the sliders do is the sliders control the volume coming out of a channel. So let's take the kick drum, for example. The kick drum is this channel. I'll show you guys how I figured that out. This is the volume of the channel that the congregation can hear. We're talking mains. So these all control main volume. Okay? You push it up, it gets louder. You pull it down, it gets quieter. This is where the ear part of the sound business comes in, is, you know, what does 0 and negative and 30 and, you know, 5 mean? That's relative numbers. This is where you kind of have to hear. You look at the stage and you go, can I hear the kick drum? Can I hear it? And if you can't hear it, you make it louder. You know, figure out the number. If you can't hear it, make it louder. And if it's too loud, then you pull it down a little bit. The mute button, red, is kind of like a standard, like bad or off. If you mute it, it cuts the channel completely, silences it. So I'm sure a lot of you who have kids would wish you had a mute button for them. You know, when they're giving you a hard time, you just hit the mute button and there's silence. But we use this when before worship, you know, when kind of just people milling around and stuff, no one's on the band. You don't want any extra noise coming through. Say, you know, some guitars or a bass will have a buzz in the background due to the electronics in it. So you don't want to hear that buzz. So you just keep it muted, silenced, until they're all ready to play. Don't mute something during worship and forget about it. I did that one time. There was a communion, and the pastor's up there talking, and someone's instrument was making noise. I mute it. Then worship starts again, and I'm back to mixing. And there's the guitarist. It was actually my dad. Actually, he was really mad at me, just looking around, like frantically messing with all his equipment, trying to figure out why he has no sound. Finally, he looks up at me and he just starts waving, and I finally notice. I go, "Oh, I left it muted," so I unmuted.
If he was starting a song, that would be kind of,
and he's back in.
So that's not only for the mains, that's for the monitor and everything.
Yeah, excellent distinction to make. Excellent distinction to make. The volume slider controls what the congregation hears. Remember how I told you monitors and mains are different. But if you mute something up here, they will not get it there. And the reason that is the flow of events are, you plug in an instrument on stage, goes into that box, it gets digitalized in the back, turns into a signal, it comes up through these cords in the back. At that point, it's in the board and goes to this switch. If you mute it, it can't go anywhere else. But if it's unmuted, it will proceed to go back down through the Cat5 cable and into those individual mixers. So it goes stage, board, and then monitor mixer. So if you mute it at the board, it's not going any further. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they don't hear it on a monitor. Yeah. If you mute, they can't hear
what he's saying
exactly.
is, from a musician's perspective, you've just ruined their life. Okay? Because he's getting ready to start the song, and then the worship leader's like doing it, and you're like, a mini crisis happens. And if they have any demons in them, they're expelled at that point, right there. You know. So,
yeah. Okay, so that's the concept of muting and the concept of sliders. I'm going to show you something tricky, right? I push up this slider and another slider comes with it. Why is that? Well, if you think about it, remember the keyboard had a left and a right? So up here, what you can do is you can do something where you link channels together. You know, hey, the keyboard, I don't just want the right side, I want the left side as well. So you can do a setting where you just link the channels together, and so they follow each other in volume. Likewise, if you mute the channel, the other one gets muted. So you kind of treat two channels like one entity.
How do you set that up? Explain how you set that.
I'll show you in a second. Okay, so that's just very basic. Yeah, Nate.
If you want, say, channel 1 and channel 48 to be moved at the same time, can you do that, or do you?
They have to be physically next to each other.
Okay.
So they do have that requirement.
And it doesn't. Okay.
Yeah. Let me show you if some of you guys can, I guess, come closer to the board. As best as you can. The channels, if you link a channel, it'll be the left side linking to the right. So I guess you'll see some of these say L and the other ones say R. It just kind of shows you which one can link. There's a link button here, but that's kind of farther than I want to go.
There's no real reason to change it.
Yeah.
Nope.
There's no reason.
No reason to change it.
So that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll pull this up on the computer so that you guys can kind of see a similar screen. So you don't have to be all so tight to the soundboard.
So you're saying the soundboard screen and then the screen on the computer will essentially be the same here in a minute?
They won't be the same. They're not synced up like that. But I'll show you what I mean. Okay.
But the controls would be the same in sync.
Yeah. Okay, see, that looks pretty familiar, right?
Yeah.
So this is just the software by itself. We still have to connect it to the soundboard. So you have to click online, and you're going to be reading from the console. And you guys aren't really going to need to know that or do anything with this, but basically now this guy is talking through a cable, a USB, to the board, and they're syncing up, probably doing some internal stuff. But you'll notice how this screen is blocked, right? You can't do anything while synchronizing. So yeah.
So if you come in on a Sunday morning and you're running sound, you've got to start all this equipment, you've got to turn the computer on. So what you're showing us is our responsibility.
Yeah. I'll go back through and do an actual procedure and show you what happens when. But right now, I just want you to get used to the controls.
I can grab my guitar too if we want to just experiment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keyboard for you or something.
Cool. Yeah, just hold off on that. We'll do that in a few minutes.
Can I ask a question? Are
yeah.
we all going to have our own name to put in there?
You mean to log in?
To log in?
No, it's just one soundboard user. You click on the sound icon. The password is Psalm 119 because we like the Psalms. It's the music. Capital P.
Okay.
So, and this computer is practically a boat anchor anyway. It should be thrown off the side of the ship. It's
Do you really need that computer on?
Do you need it? No, not for what you guys are doing in the beginning. Like I said, there's a few things that I think work faster when you do them on here than here, but I'm just trying to show you, for this point, show you two screens that are easier to see. All right, so this is the main control for every channel. Remember how I said instead of having a really long board with lots and lots of rows of controls, we kind of squish them all together, and all we do is change the channel that we're doing the thing to.
On average, how many channels do we use on a Sunday morning?
12, 15?
I don't know. Somewhere between 20 and 26. I don't know, something like that. When you have
so
48,
you will be going to that second.
Yeah, all the time. All the time.
Vocals and stuff on
that
one
second
row,
layer.
and other rows of
Okay.
Yeah, when you have the luxury of 48 channels, you can kind of spread it out and not worry about being as tight. So some of you will get mad at me for where the things are placed on the layers because you'll think it doesn't make sense. But that's just how they were initially put in. Okay, so let's look at this control real quick. So can some people see this screen? Some of you can come forward. I'll point to this screen for the rest of you. Where do I even start? Okay, so the main knobs you need to know about. Okay, so the two blue, this section here, right? So red, green, and blue. These are what are used for what's known as EQ. I think it stands for equalizer. Essentially, you're changing how the signal. See you, Eric. Thanks for coming. You're changing how the signal electronically is made up. All of you guys know music, right? So a bass guitar, what kind of a noise, I guess? What kind of a noise does it make? Describe it to me. It's low, right? It's low in frequency. I'm going to click on EQ so you guys get a visual here. Let's go to the bass.
Ed, why don't you come up here? You can be able to see that.
I can see right here.
Copying it.
So the bass has a low frequency. So right around here, if you can see my mouse, this is where most of the bass frequency is going to be. It's that boom, boom, that kind of sound, right? This is how you can control the way a signal sounds. So from a sound guy perspective, what do we use the EQ for, right? For the kick drum, we use it to try and get a punchier sound. And as a sound guy, you're going to hear a lot of these really weird metaphors to try and describe sound. We all do it. We all have them. But you know, if I had the kick drum playing, I could move this left and right, and you guys would be able to hear the difference in tone.
You want me to kick?
You want me to kick it?
Yeah, Keith, you want to go down there and just sit on the kick drum? And we'll, okay, so cool. I'll be able to show you guys that.
You don't change that every week, right?
Right.
That basically stays.
Yeah.
Right. Well, one of the benefits for you guys is, as a digital board, it has a memory. So if you recall the scene or the save file, essentially, of the soundboard that we go from normally, all the EQ is going to be done, so most of the instruments should sound okay. What Doug Gould will be talking about on July 22nd is a lot more like, you know, if you don't like the way a kick drum sounds, if you don't like the way the guitar sounds, how to modify the EQ so to change the way the instrument is sounding, to make it sound better. Another example, if someone's singing and they have morning voice in the morning, so it's a lot lower, there's a lot more gravel in their voice, right? You're going to want to cut, in the morning I'll go to a vocal mic, but you're going to want to cut a lot of that, you know, nasty mid-range. I don't know why that's, yeah, you're going to want to cut kind of this mid-range around here, right? For Josh Crisp, you know, he has a lot of mud in this lower area of his voice. So you'll want to cut that in the morning. But as the day progresses, now suddenly his voice is going to sound a lot higher and clear and kind of piercing, because what happened? Well, his voice warmed up, so it's not as gravelly. So you'll have to modify the EQ, but that kind of gives you an example.
Now, you're modifying the EQ with what you're doing right there?
Yeah.
So you're not moving any knobs, you're just doing the computer.
Yeah, yeah, I find that's the easiest way to do it. All right, Keith, could you hit the kick drum for us? Could you hit it a little harder? Okay, so I'm going to go over to the kick drum now, and I'm just going to start dragging these sliders around.
Oh, wow.
So what am I doing here? I'm actually cutting a large section.
Oh, wow.
Keep going, Keith. So I'm just going to hear that, hear how boomy that is. So that's really boomy, but suddenly I cut it. Hear how there's less boom?
Yeah.
I'm going to boost now, so I'm going to boost the boom.
Ah, there you go.
Right? I'm going to cut the middle. Hear how you hear more of the beater sound on the head of the kick drum. It sounds more like a punch. This is kind of the area we normally sit around to try and make the kick drum sound good. You know, if you leave this up, that's kind of the nasty part of the kick drum. It's why we're cutting it. You hear how it sounds gross? And this is some of the higher parts. Keep going. You'll hear the higher frequency, right? So that gives you an idea for how the EQ changes the way something sounds. Keith, can you hit the snare drum?
So that's how with the drums today, when you go see a live band, that's how they get that sharpness and snapness.
Yeah.
Did you find one?
That's pretty interesting. So it's all doing not the board.
Exactly.
Yeah. But even live, you see some of these guys, they got the board like this. The drums seem to be a lot sharper now.
Yeah. This is kind of what you would do in studio mixing. All right, Keith, yeah, go ahead and hit the snare drum.
But it's live.
So this is a higher frequency of a drum. Look how I'm boosting a certain area because I want to get kind of a snappier sound. See how, hear how flat that sounds now? Sounds pretty nasty, right? I don't know what it is, but now I'm just basically cutting the good part and pushing up the bad part. Hear how awful that sounds? It's not good. All right, that's fine, Keith. All right,
changes
so
that you make or that we would make on a Sunday morning, do they get remembered in the mix, or can you go back to the default
Only if
mix?
you physically save
Yeah.
the scene.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm not
otherwise
worried
it's a
about
scene.
messing with this right now.
Yeah, because it's going to
because
back to
we're just going to reset it. So, okay, so that's EQ. That just gives the idea of how the sound will change. When you guys first start mixing, all you're going to focus on is, can I hear all the instruments? So it's basically just setting volume levels. Right. Can I hear the instruments? The guitarist is doing a solo. Is he out in front in the mix? So it's kind of always a constant. You're changing what's louder than what if you want to highlight a particular instrument. And if the guitar is doing a solo, you're going to want to push him up so that people can hear him clearly. But after the solo is over, you're going to pull him back down because he's playing background. You know, if you want to hear more keyboard part of a song, you push the keyboard up. If it's a more kickin' song, like a more rocky worship song, you'll push up the kick a little more. But if it's like a real quiet song, you don't want to just hear the drummers going, boom, boom. That's going to be distracting, so you pull it down a little bit. So all of your guys' mixing is going to be just setting levels, not worrying as much about tone, because we have a lot of that set already, and that's going to be something that you'll have to work on later on to develop kind of that muscle in your ear. But okay, does that all kind of make sense? How if you cut something a low frequency, you'll hear a lot more high end. If you boost high end, it'll be really sharp. You know, all that kind of thing about the graph.
Now to get to that graph, do you just click on that particular?
Yeah, so there's an EQ button here.
Oh, okay.
And on the board, the EQ button is this display button here on the EQ.
Okay.
So if you click it, you get the same control here and here, but notice that with this, I have to use knobs to move the frequency around.
Okay. All right.
Here, you just put your mouse what you want to do, and you drag it around. You pick this yellow point and you move it. Pick this, but notice that it's real time. So if I go to the kick here, and you guys watch here, I move the yellow. It's moving.
Yeah.
It's all synced up, so it's real time. Okay, the control of the board works like this. Anytime you're moving through menus, you're going to use these buttons here. The dashes go up to the particular button or function that you're doing. Let's go to the patch bay. Okay, so when I was doing acoustic guitar, right, down on stage, I was telling you guys acoustic guitar comes in 7, right? Channel 7 down there.
Yeah.
We have a patch bay. It's kind of like a matrix or a table that says, because believe it or not, the channel 7 you plug in down there is not the channel on the board it goes to. All right, so this is the only part that might be confusing. There's one intermediary step. So when something's coming in from the stage, it goes to something called the patch bay, kind of like a virtual matrix. And you basically show, I want channel 7 on the stage to come in onto the board in channel 12. Okay, so I'll show you this for the acoustic guitar. See if I can pull it up here too.
So you're saying it's 7 on the stage, but it's 12 on the board.
Exactly.
And so the numbers don't correspond. And so that can be very confusing when they say, hey, I'm in number 7, and they'll shout from down there, I'm in number 7. And you got to have some sort of conversion in your head to get it right.
And I'll show you guys how to kind of figure it out, because it's once you figure it out, there's just one more step. But this is the patch bay, right? It's just a table. And so on the top is React A inputs. Remember how you were asking me what the stage box thing was, Yvonne? Like on the back? Essentially, it goes to something called a React. This is the thing that converts the analog sound into a digital sound.
Okay.
So we have a React A and a React B. Basically...
So is that's one side of the stage to the other?
No, unfortunately not. It's
makes sense.
basically we bought, let's see, React A is 32 inputs. So it's a physical unit that says I can take 32 channels and make them digital. React B is 16 channels. So what the guys who built this is they said, okay, we'll take a 32 channel React A and we'll also take a 16 channel React B, and together you can get 48 channels back to the board. You don't really have to know.
Just like a matrix of what signals or inputs you have out there, and you just convert them over into the board, and you assign a position on the board.
Yeah.
Channel 1, 2, 3, 7, whatever.
Essentially, and like someone pointed out earlier, are you going to have to change this? Not really. Not on a Sunday morning where everything's set for you. So I'm just going to go over real quick what goes to what, just to kind of so you guys start hearing things. So you'll see these yellow arrows. They're basically just check marks showing you what lines up to what. So the kick comes in from channel 19 backstage. It's in channel 1 on the board. Snare is channel 20, but it's channel 2 at the board. I have the hi-hat. It's channel 18. I put it in channel 7. So things like that, you can just see on the patch bay how something is physically getting from the stage to the soundboard. I'll show you how you can kind of cheat and just figure things out right away. So suppose the bass player goes, hey, I don't know where to plug myself in. So these select buttons here are how you change the channel that's being displayed. Remember, because we don't have rows and rows of buttons for each channel, we just have one set of buttons. You're sharing it. The display will show you what's selected. So this green button here, it shows you that you're looking at the bass channel. So the bass player goes, hey, where do you want me to plug in? I can look on the bass channel and see A in 29. The A just means React A, but it doesn't really matter. That's just more how it works in the background. All you have to tell them is plug in channel 29. It says in 29, that's input 29.
So like I'm in 30, right?
Yep. Electric guitar, A in 30.
So that patch board in the back.
Acoustic guitar,
That's
7.
where I would plug in my.
Right. So this is your translator right here for you. On the stage, it's 7. On the board, it's channel 12. All right. So if you're looking for something, and you'll get used to the configuration here, but yeah, basically that's how that works. Different.
If they're all plugged in correctly, you just ignore it.
Exactly. Exactly. You just get used to it, and you find the channel up on the board.
So you can just take a picture of that and hang it on the wall.
Right, right. If you, yeah.
An old guy like that.
If you really want, I mean,
Your phone.
there's very few.
Wait a minute.
There's very few times that you're going to need to know all of that information at once, because if you know the kick drum's supposed to be plugged in, so you just have to find what channel it is on the board by changing the display. And oh look,
Oh, you got it all labeled too, like in here.
Exactly. All these are labeled here. So for the most part, you guys aren't going to have to convert numbers.
Yeah.
You'll just have to find, where it is on the board. So, okay, I'm going to show you now
So Gary, can I
what's on
ask
what
you
layer.
a dumb question before you go ahead?
No dumb questions.
When you turned on that computer
Mhm.
and you were messing around with that computer, that screen kind of froze a little bit so that you could work there. Then I noticed that you went back to that. You didn't change anything on the screen. You went back to that, and all of a sudden the screen was active again. So I guess it's because you were touching buttons over here that it decided to kick back on, or is it always on?
It's always on. I'm not sure, but basically what
So
we've
you can
had
do it
sometimes.
either or?
It's more of a. I guess it is an or. Basically, you can do whatever you want on this board and whatever you want on the computer simultaneously.
Okay.
So there's been on
Doesn't
Christmas Eve, we had Dave Hopkins on the board doing the mix of the musicians, and I was mixing the wireless mics on the board. Because that can be something that's really distracting. If you have 6 wireless mics walking around, you got to watch out, make sure that they're not too close to the mains, so you'll get feedback, things like that. You can mix 2 at the same time.
Everybody what feedback is and what to do immediately,
Yeah.
so that people don't wig out and
Yeah.
burst into.
Yeah.
Oh, just going back to, like say they had Catalyst and there was a wedding, everything's disconnected. So you would be working with Charlie and you'd be telling them, plug this into channel 3, plug this into, because if everything's taken down, you'd have to reconfigure it based on that mapping.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I have one just thing just to add on to what John said earlier, and I wanted to jump in. He said, so you would have to be here before, power everything up and what have you. Guys, this is kind of like, this is the most servant-minded position you can come into. Because your background, you get no accolades, you only get complaints. No one ever says great sound job. They always say, hey, it's too freaking loud. And they're angry. So this is like that humble servant position, So you got to get in early and check out late, usually. So like there's a heart here that I'm really praying for. Like you guys can see the pastoral stuff bleed out of me a little bit. I really want you guys just to take ownership of that. Sort of a thankless job, but absolutely essential.
Yeah.
Getting in early, powering stuff on. Musicians are notoriously prima donnas and don't understand any of it or care to understand any of it.
But those of you who are musicians, now you guys see both sides.
Right, right. And so I do everything I can to try to keep emotions calm, but nothing is a compliment to a musician like a good sound guy, which is why they'll pay anything for a good sound guy who doesn't give them any problems. And then all they get is good feedback, you know.
Well, the other thing you can think of it from the musician side, when you come prepared and you're cooperative and you're showing and teaching us, working with us, we're ministers up there. We're not preaching the word, but we're preaching the word through sound. So if we're going there and you get a good guy that's prepared, run a great sound check, and you need something, and poof, it's right on it, you're just at peace. Because we've got a million things going through our head with pedals and music.
You memorize the lyrics, you memorize the words, you got everything like in your head.
And then the sound goes, oh, whoa, what's going on? You're all flustered, you know, and you have to be. So when you get a sound guy, it's critical. And you can come in and you can be all prayed up, and then the sound goes, and you're like, it's
like last week.
9:15 and we haven't practiced yet. People are coming in 15 minutes. Okay, Lord, we trust you. So, but that's it, you know, that's it.
I'd like to say something. I think best sound man is somehow, and sound woman, Ron, is somehow invisible, but they are on everything. It's like you cannot have ADD, you know, ADD, whatever it is. It's like you're watching, if somebody goes to the mic to speak, you're watching, if a pastor comes up, it's like you can't like be texting your girlfriend and all that. You have to be like this. And if you are like that, and you're an octopus, and you're on everything, so it's seamless all the time. There's never a glitch, there's never a... I've been to churches like that, and I've been in churches where they just have some kids up there just, oh wow, oh somebody's at the mic. That is embarrassing.
It's eyes and ears.
It's embarrassing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I had a situation last night where, and hopefully this won't happen in the future, Tom and I have talked about it. We don't want to have any sound. That's why we're having this today, so that we can always have the soundboard man. Last night we had somebody come in from FAC and run our soundboard. And I was sitting here going, I'm sorry I can't help you, I don't know nothing. So he had this screen up right here, and what he was doing, he was coming across here and trying to identify channel, because I had to hook up 4 vocal mics that were hooked up, that were wired, and I hooked them up into channel 13, 14, 15, or no, 14, 15, 16, and 17. But he couldn't find out where to hook them up on the board. So he went into this screen right here, and he was pulling these down to where he identified the channels and clicked on them here, and pulled these, and identified those arrows. Like he could come into this square to get him to work. So, you know, hopefully that won't happen, but what I want to know is, if a situation like that happens again, how do you get to this screen, and how do you sign a channel to a particular mic?
Yeah.
By doing it this way.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, I guess we'll tangent there. So, when I mix sound for the youth ministry, right, they're trying to get more young kids playing music. So they'll have 2 piano players up there, 2 keyboardists, one who's more of a seasoned player and one who's learning. So the one who's learning will be up there kind of with the band, but they're also not stuck by themselves being the only piano player, so that, you know, when there's a piano part and say they mess something up, they can just, you know, kind of take a moment and then go back into it, because there's another keyboard playing. But as you can see, there's only 1 keyboard up there, and we only have it configured for 1 keyboard normally. So the question is, well, how do we add another keyboard channel? So what I will usually do is I'll find a channel that's not being used. So we have a few extra instrument channels. And so if you have to patch another instrument through it, it's already configured. You just change what's going in. So in that situation, we have a channel called leader vocal. Well, it's not assigned anymore. Basically, if you want to add another instrument, right, you find a free channel on the board, something that says no assign or you know you're not using. So in this case, leader vocal. So all you're going to do is, if you open up the patch bay, right, you can now see, I want to find a channel up here that's not being used, right? Because you want to avoid that double mapping kind of deal, what we were talking about. Don't have 7 plugged in twice. So let's just say, okay, I'm going to try and plug it into 15 backstage or on the stage box. So I'm going to keep my eye on 15 and I'm going to scroll down. Is there anything allocated to 15? And there's not. I didn't see any checkboxes. So now I know I can use channel 15 to send something up. So what channel did I have open on the board here? I had channel 25 open, right? So I'm going to look, I'm going to scroll down to channel 25. Notice how it says leader vocal, right? So this side matches up with the name of the channel. So all I do is I trace my mouse from the left side, leader vocal. Oh, we were talking about 15 here. And you're just going to put a check box right here. 15 on the stage goes to channel 25. And notice that here now, leader vocal is assigned channel 15. So Ed, if you have a situation where someone goes, you know, I want to add some more wired mics. Say you're doing something where you need more wired mics. You open the patch bay and you look for some channels. Well, first you got to find some empty channels on your board that aren't being used. So what I'm doing is I'm just selecting through, trying to see what's being used here. And all these have a name. Okay, so typically towards the right are the channels we don't use a lot. So this is called channel 4. It's channel 21 and it's React A and 16. I have no idea what channel 4 is. It's kind of like a trash channel, right? So you can rename it, use it for whatever. Baptismal. That's another trash channel that you can reallocate. Okay?
Is that the baptismal mic?
Used to be. Now we just use the wireless mics, and we just kind of, those are always allocated. So if I want to add, say Ed, I want to add two more wired mics somewhere on stage. So I go, hey, I know we're not using channel 4 for everything, just because I've mixed sound and I know, you know, we never use the channel 4 slider. So you can rename it by clicking the name edit here. Using the scroll wheel to kind of pick, this is where I said that's really slow, right? You pick a letter, move to the next thing, pick a letter, move to the next thing, that stinks. So what you can do is find that channel here. See, now it's called HM4, because I was just screwing around. But you click name edit, what do you have? Oh, look, you have a keyboard here. So this is new mic. Right, so now it's called new mic, and if I want to do the same thing here for the baptismal, new mic too. All right, you can even change the color of the channel if that helps you remember what's going on. So you can make the label red. Same thing. You can make the label red.
Now those colors on the channel, that's why you have the colors on the M40H down there, correct?
Not in this case. They don't match up that way. But I'll tell you what that's for, because that's monitors.
Just before you leave that, and as you were doing that, Ed, do you know how to get into the thing that's the patch thing?
Patch bay?
As it's just, don't you just hit the equalizer button? Is that what you said?
The patch bay. So there's a bunch of buttons over here. They're kind of small. You just got to read the text. Okay. So this one says patch bay. In this case, it's button right here. You'll see patch bay, and you hit patch bay, and that'll allow you to search up and down, you know, what's open.
Let me ask you a question, Derek. How often is this reconfigured from week to week?
If there's, you know, a women's weekend, like once a year. If there's a catalyst where they're asking to put 15 musicians up there, which I don't think they're going to be doing anymore, so you don't have to worry about that. Basically, this kind of emergency configuration editing is not something you're going to do on a week-to-week basis. Even if they have, okay, today we have 2 electric guitars and an acoustic guitar. Well, we already have 2 guitars in our setup. So you're not going to have to do anything with that. Nobody ever adds 2 keyboards.
Which channel to plug their mic output to on that patch bed. You're in 30, and you put in 31, the extra guitar too. Then they'll be mapped right up there.
Yeah.
The thing I was just trying to draw attention to is special events. So when you're following a special event, so when that church calendar comes and program, and you know you're booked that next Sunday, just come in. It's going to be a nightmare. Okay?
It's not going to be a nightmare. You guys know how it works now.
Right. I'm going to have to think through this, so that way you're not flustered, and then nobody down there gets flustered. So like, just anticipate following big events. And I'm like, as a pastor, I'm always queued up. Okay, did the youth band leave the stage erect? Probably. Okay, so that means I'm going to have to think through that pastorally. You know what I'm saying? So good sound guys. Derek's a classic example. He knows following a big event, he gets there earlier because there's more stuff to tidy up, to shore up, what have you. The anticipation's a good key, good skill.
As we're going forward with our church also, we're getting to the point to where more people are using our building. You know, there's multiple weddings. You have different needs.
Graduation last night.
You know, so, you know, you can never tell what event we might have coming up, and that's why I'm asking these questions.
Yeah.
Now, another question I had was the condenser mics. The guy last night never really got the condenser mics working, and I had them set up for the choir. You couldn't even hear the choir when the band was playing.
Well, that's a classic problem. Whether or not it's a technical issue, getting sound to the mics, you're almost never going to hear a choir because they sing too darn quiet.
And if the condenser mics won't pull that up.
It's not about the mics. It's just about you know, the sheer fact that you're competing. If you have a rock band up there with drums, you're going to be competing with the cymbals. You know,
drums always
you can't mic something that's not there in the air already, right? The mics don't make the instrument or the choir louder. They just allow you to hear it. So even, you know, for Easter, right, I think we had a choir.
We could barely hear them.
And it's very hard to hear them, and there's almost nothing I can do about it. I get the choir mics as close as I can to the choir, point them right at it. I try and boost their volume as much as I can, but it gets to a point where the sound coming out of the speakers, you get a feedback loop, and I forgot to answer this question. What's feedback? Basically, you know, let's just use the example of you have a speaker and you have a mic, and you plug the mic into the speaker. So whatever you say into the mic comes out of the speaker, right? So it would be a good idea for me to put the mic next to the speaker, because then I'm taking the noise that's presently in the speaker and it's going into the mic. What it does do, it goes back into the speaker and comes out 10 times as loud. And the signal keeps getting amplified and amplified. And what that does is create this screeching sound called feedback. And what most people would know, it's called, what is the sound guy doing right now? And everybody turns around and looks back at you. So how do you avoid feedback? What causes feedback? Commonly it'll be people with wireless mics walking around on stage. If they talk quietly, if you talk really quietly, then I have to boost the signal up at the board to try and make your talking louder. What am I doing? I'm boosting this mic, now it's listening harder. And it might just be hearing whatever's coming out of the mains. And so if it hears what's coming out of the mains, it'll go back through the system and come out the mains louder. And that's where you get feedback. So one of the biggest things that you can help people to do to create less feedback with wireless mics is you got to just get people to talk loudly. So if you have somebody that's in a play and they're saying their part really quietly, it's such a frustration as a sound guy. You got to get them to still project like they're not being mic'd.
So you're like a coach as well.
Right.
And teach them how to talk into the mic with the right position.
Right. You get to be everything. But you know, if someone is up there doing an announcement, or someone's being interviewed, right? The pastors are up there. Someone's being interviewed with one of those handheld mics. People are just slowly up the mic, saying lower and lower and lower.
Ice cream cone.
And then I'm like, well, shoot, I need to hear what they're saying. And then before you know it, you push too hard, and it's like, because the mic's only picking up. So, you know, it's about coaching people. Hold the mic here, speak loudly into your wireless mic. And with the choir mics, the problem that day with the choir was we didn't have enough people in the choir. So if you only have 6 people in the choir, you know, everyone's going to be timid, everyone's going to hear themselves, and then, you know, everyone's singing quietly, and now you can't get enough signal to overcome the power of the drums.
You can only pull the band down so far. I mean, you'd have to make them almost inaudible to make the choir. Then there'd be no energy. You know,
so the feedback happens most often when you have a wedge monitor like that up on stage right there, where somebody with a microphone is in too close proximity to the monitor. That's why the earphone monitors are so critical to avoiding feedback, because you're not creating that loop. But somebody walking around with a microphone near it or in front of that wedge monitor is going to create feedback.
Yeah,
so it's about volume of talking, but it's also about where you are on the stage.
Proximity.
Yeah, exactly. That's another point. So the normal feedback I was talking about was feedback coming from the mains.
Yeah.
Monitor feedback is something where if you have an old school setup where you have guitarist with a vocal mic playing and he wants to hear himself blaring out of wedge monitor, then I have to send the signal from his mic into that monitor. But if suddenly I'm sending too much signal, then the monitor is going to be picking up, or the mic's going to be picking up the sound coming out of the monitor, and that's monitor feedback, and it's even more screechy, and you'll hear it not coming from here, but you hear some horrible sound coming from somewhere on stage. That's monitor feedback.
Kills musicians' ears.
And it just blows musicians' faces off. It's awful. I made a mistake one time on setting up for Christmas Eve, and I was right next to playing with a monitor, and basically a mic picked it up, and it took me a second to figure out what I did.
When feedback occurs, is there like a light, an indicator somewhere on the board that tells you whose microphone is the culprit?
Nope.
No.
You just kind of have to remember, what was I doing? Or
you just kill the main when that happens? You just take the main and just pull them down?
If it's monitor feedback, that doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Really?
Because it's the sound coming out of that speaker there.
Yeah.
Got it.
We don't really ever use floor wedges unless you have a choir situation. So that's not something you guys have to worry about as much. But and like you said with the in-ears, right? They're not going to ever have feedback, which is great. They're not going to have feedback.
There's two mains here. There's a main C and there's a main. This is the main. What's this main?
That's
C?
that's a great question. I forget how much of this stuff I take for granted. Okay, so we what's a good way of describing this? Okay, you see how we have these funny clusters up here, right? Yeah. Some of them point out, some of them point to the right. Why do we have them? Why not just put a center cluster hanging in the middle? Well, the sound engineers which built this built the sound setup, they have those clusters. So in theory, wherever you're sitting in the audience, you'll still be able to hear a stereo mix. If you're sitting on the left, and I have the electric guitar panned to the right, you guys understand what panning means? I'm just kind of putting it more in the right side. If you're all the way in the left, then in theory, how do you hear the electric guitar? Well, if you're looking at the cluster here, you have a speaker coming this way at you and a speaker coming this way. So you can actually still simulate that kind of left-right stereo mix. This will be kind of the right speaker in that case, and this will be the left speaker. So, why do we have a left and right and a center? Center is where we put, it's kind of like a subgroup out, and it's where we put pastors' mics, it's where we put the handheld mics, it's basically where we put vocals. We want the vocals to be heard in the center of everything, not panned. So when you put something, all the vocal mics will be going in center, you'll hear it out of the center of that cluster, out of the center of that cluster, and out of the center of that cluster. That's what main C is, okay? So it's kind of like a subgroup. These are both treated like different entities. So it makes it easy if the vocals are suddenly getting really loud on a song. Oh gosh, I want to pull all the vocals down a little bit. You can adjust the main center just a little bit to make it a little quieter. Think main C vocals. Main LR is everything else. It's the instruments. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of the overall mix, and this is the vocals. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, let me show you the user layer stuff. Okay, so I've been clicking around. You guys have been watching these channels change, but what's on what layer, right? Let's try and conceptualize this a little bit. Channel 1 through 24 is going to be most of the band. So starting from the left, we have a group of drums. So we have the kick, snare, and you guys are all familiar with the drums, like what name is with what drum? Yeah, anybody not? No? Okay, so the kick is the biggest drum on the floor. It's what the guy will kick, bass drum. Makes the big boomy sound.
Hey, I'll give the sound.
Joshua just wants to play the drums.
It's a broken hip.
I think that's helpful to know. Yeah. So we can kind of see.
Yeah, no, I'm not complaining.
Hey, Dirk, while he's doing that, when you were talking about mapping in new instruments, one thing I didn't hear you say is, do you have to save it?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go over save it. All right, Josh, can you start with kick? So if we're doing a normal sound check in the morning, I say start with kick. So that's the kick. See how there's a light coming in? That's the signal. So it shows you how much signal.
So if it gets too loud or it reds out, whatever that's called, then you know you've pushed it too far, right?
That's good. Yeah, I'll show you clipping. Snare, please.
Clip.
Snare. And that sounds awful because I was messing with you. Try to ignore that. First tom. So these are these. So we have 3 of them. Second tom. Second tom. This is one down here. So first tom. third tom. And this is the last one. Down here. So it goes higher to lower. And now he's going 1, 2, 3. All right, and can you do the hi-hat? This is kind of a smaller cymbal. You hear that? That's what you'll typically hear with the hi-hat. See, there he goes. Can you hit the cymbals? These are the cymbals. Can you hit them again? For the most part, the drummer's playing loudly. You don't really need the cymbals in the mix because you'll just hear them off the stage.
Yeah.
All right, Joshua, could you do full kit for us for a minute?
Do
There
one
should be
stick.
some.
Just do one.
Thanks,
That's the
Joshua.
best one-stick player I've ever heard.
Nice job.
So even with the drums now, it's not just one instrument. You have to deal with 6 channels to get the drums to be a good mix. So to kind of explain, I usually think about the kick drum as the foundation of the mix. You build your house on it. So make sure it's loud enough to just keep a steady beat. Use the snare to kind of highlight on the on beat. So usually kick and snare are the foundation of your mix. But if you have them too loud, then you're going to have a mix that's just drums. So make sure it's not too loud. Okay, so yeah, on this section, so we're on the bottom layer here, 1 through 24, kick, snare, tom. Oh, why is this one muted? We used to have 4 toms, now we only have 3. Because the drummers only one drummer, I think, made the decision to only play with 3 toms, and everybody else didn't care enough to set them up every time. So just ignore tom 2.
Roomier back there.
So does it also have to do with frequencies, right? Just as if they're covering the whole spectrum.
Right. So kick drum is the lowest frequency. Snare is a high frequency. The first tom is higher in frequency. Second tom is lower, and the third one's lowest. It's like boom. So dum dum dum. And then you have the cymbals. Okay. So that's the drum section. Next we have CD mon. What's that? It's nothing. Don't worry about it. I don't know why it's there. Bass. So bass guitar. So now we get to the guitars section of the board. Acoustic guitar.
Hey, do you want me to plug this in then?
Yeah, sure.
That would be really helpful.
But there's no direct.
Totally different on a.
You have to get a direct box.
You're gonna have to grab a direct box, an XLR, and a 1/4 inch though.
No problem doing that. Charlie, you want to help me?
He doesn't have a key. He doesn't have a key, and I didn't.
Okay. Then electric guitar. This is what we might.
According to your dad, it's the only instrument that matters.
Right.
So acoustic and then electric.
Yep. And then you have guitar 2. What do we use guitar 2 for? If we have, maybe we do 2 acoustic guitars one Sunday. I don't think we'll do that. We do 2 electric guitars. 2 electric guitars. Basically, we'll set up a mic for channel 30 and a mic for channel 27. We'll put the 2 amps together, not together, but kind of next to each other. We'll kind of try and isolate them as best we can with those black things, and we'll mic them both. So that's guitar 2. Keys left, keys right. Keyboard left and right, they're linked together like I showed you earlier. iPod left, iPod right. We don't use this, but if you wanted, you could set up 2 direct boxes with a splitter cable that'll kind of plug into an iPod, and you can pump some music in there. We used to use it for if the musicians wanted to hear a song before they practiced it. But typically the leader now will just take his phone and hold it up to the... I know my back's not that good looking. You'll take your phone and just hold it up to the mic. So it doesn't sound as good, but it's easier to set up than an iPod.
Yeah.
AMBSR and AMBSL. What's that? It stands for ambient stage right and ambient stage left. Notice how there's 2 mics kind of sitting there, actually pointed towards the congregation. Why would you want to mic the congregation, you say? If you're a music snob and you have these fancy in-ears that isolate the sound so you can only hear from the monitors, you're going to want some of the congregation so that it doesn't feel like you're playing in a box,
Not as
like
dry.
like in a studio.
Dry mix would be no ambient, and you have control of that in your monitor.
Right.
If you add a little ambient, it makes you feel like you're in the audience and you hear the audience singing. Sometimes you want to hear that when there's like a cappella going on. It's just
Exactly.
less as you know, when you hear that.
Yeah, if you have really good in-ears, like molded in-ears, then you're going to be more isolated from the mix and be more of what's coming from the monitors. If you have bad in-ears, like say your iPhone, just out of the box headphones, then it doesn't isolate sound, doesn't protect your ears from everything happening out here, so you're going to feel like you're in the congregation anyway. So the reason this was added is because my dad's a music snob, and he has these fancy in-ears, and he wanted to be able to hear the congregation, so he configured that for himself, and everyone else would turn it down in their monitors because they didn't want to hear more of the congregation.
I used it last week and made a big difference. Yeah, otherwise you do feel like you're in a box.
Yeah.
And it depends what the song is. Sometimes there's like ambient keyboards or ambient stuff.
Yes,
going on,
sir.
And you want to turn that down. That's the more musician thing, right?
Right.
Just turn it down.
You guys give me a long lead.
Thanks, Ed. Okay, new mic and new mic 2. These are incredibly important channels that I just created today as an example, so we don't use them. Wireless C and Pastor. We have 2 wireless mics. Oh, let's show Josh. See, Josh is making noise on this channel. Go ahead and play, Josh.
You can see the light.
You can see the light. That's a good little clue. You can click on it and say, oh, that's acoustic guitar. I want to unmute that and let it in. Go ahead, Josh.
Can you show us how you do an EQ? Like, how do you EQ that, or you just take where
So right now, if I go to the EQ display, see it looks grayed out. We're not doing anything to the signal right now. For the most part, we don't actually have to EQ the acoustic guitar. That's not the church's acoustic guitar, that's Joshua's. The church's has a really nice sound, which we don't have to do much to. I kind of like this right now, but if I wanted to EQ anything, I would turn EQ on. Keep playing, Josh.
Is he going direct? Or he's mic'd? I can't see.
He has a 1/4 inch plugged into his guitar, which goes to direct. So if you listen to the sound right now, it's pretty full. You're kind of mid-range, which are kind of the lower strings.
No, I hear the bottom too.
Yeah. Yeah, what you don't want is an acoustic guitar that's all like high.
So basically, you want it to sound like it really sounds when you play without a mic. Full body, you know.
Honestly, I wouldn't do much of that. That's good, Josh. That's good, Joshua. Thank you. That's good, man. Okay, so that's acoustic.
Oh, like there's a thing where they.
You're good.
What do they call that when you, like, say electric guitar, your guy would say the guitar player thinks he has to be the bass, so he has a lot of bottom end, and he's got the middle, and he's got the highs, and basically you kind of clip that, or you cut off some of the bass, because, you know, it's just, you tell them to roll the bass back.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. But how do you do that so that it's not bleeding into the other frequencies?
Yeah, so not only do musicians and instruments need space for themselves up on stage, but they also need space frequency-wise. Like, they need a part of the song that they can contribute without having another instrument clobbering over them. Think about it like this. If you have a bass player laying down this really cool, groovy, low-frequency sound, and then some guy on the keyboard thinks it's a good idea to play this really low, bassy chord, this really heavy synth, what's going to happen? Mud, right? So now the keyboard is playing in a frequency where the bass player should be playing, and we usually use the bass as the backbone for the low end. So you need to tell the keyboard player, for one, hey, play up here in the mid-range, which is a little higher so you're not clobbering over the bass player's frequency. And two, maybe it's something where the keyboard is just naturally more bassy. So even in the mid-range, you're still hearing a lot of low mud. That's where you can go to the keys and work with the EQ to cut, you know, a section that's kind of lower mid, right? So the red is just how much, so it's up or down. The green is left or right. and the blue Q is how wide or thin you're adjusting. So, like I said, you guys aren't going to have to do much with that, but that's kind of the idea of how you can modify the signal coming in so that you kind of give each person their little area to play, and then they can work together to build the song.
So the role that, like, if the band doesn't catch that because they're involved with the music, sometimes we'll catch it. Say, like, I'll tell the keyboard player, like, just go up a little higher. So if they don't catch it, your job is to coach them in a nice way. Say, hey, you know, why don't you try that part up a little higher? So you also have to listen and help coach the band to make it sound better.
Yep.
And oftentimes the worship guy, at least I do, hey, what can we do? And then Derek will quickly say, hey, man, it's muddy. Like, we got too much of the same going on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so sometimes the invitation is straight up given, you know, because we want to have the feedback. But muddy is not good. So if I'm on the stage and I hear, hey, your bass is crowding on your piano, I guess what I'm going to say to the worship leader, quit crowding on the piano. Let's make it see. You'll have a conversation. Work out who's going to do that part.
Yep. Yeah, so a lot of these are discussions like, you know, if you've been mixing for six months or a year, kind of, you've gotten over the technical humps where, do I know how to turn up the kick? Do I know how to turn down the kick? Do I know how to balance the instruments on stage, you know, volume-wise? Now you can start getting into the tone of things. Do I like the tone of the keyboard? Do I like the tone of the guitar? Are the parts working together? Things like that. I don't want to overwhelm you guys too much with thinking, oh my gosh, if you're the sound guy, you're basically the orchestrator of the entire mix. You are, but you don't have to start out there, right? You can start out with just making sure the pieces fit together nicely.
I think what we're going to start doing, talking with Tom, there's going to be a musician like myself or Craig, an experienced musician that'll be up here to help you, like, hey, this doesn't sound right, or you see the acoustic guy playing and you don't hear him, or
right,
you might want to bring this down a little bit.
That's where we're going to be looking target for starting. So,
Could you just, this is important,
yeah.
I don't know if you hit it, but if somebody unplugs up there, show what to do on the board.
Exactly.
So some pops don't happen.
Yeah. So the bass player's plugged in right now, and worship finishes. So he decides, I want to go get lunch. So he just unplugs his guitar. The sound guy, unaware, somebody wants to come up and talk to him and tell him, wow, the mix was killer today. You did such a good job. So he turns around to talk to the guy. The bass player unplugs, and you hear this big boom. And everybody in the audience looks like. So make sure before somebody unplugs that you find the channel that they're unplugging and you just mute the channel, silencing, so that any electrical pops
or
not
electric,
bass,
or I don't unplug.
The electric's not an issue because they usually turn off their amp or something like that. But just
you guys saw what I just did. Like,
done,
I said, Derek, you got it? When I said that, I'm saying, make sure I'm dead. So this is a musician's check, what I just did. Hey, you got it? Before I do that, unplug. I want to make sure I've corresponded. Now, does everybody do that?
No.
Heavens no. But I'm saying...
And the biggest place you actually get a problem is, okay, whatever. So what the congregation hears someone unplug, it's not a huge deal. But the musicians that still have their in-ears in, they're going to hear a pop that's very loud, and that's going to be...
Well, it can damage the speakers too, right?
It's not that
really
loud, but you're going to, it's going to hurt some people's ears.
Well, wouldn't you just turn down the house and monitor mixes at the end of a worship service? Just turn them all down as a routine sound man?
There's no reason to turn them down. Just turn them off. So you hit the mute button, and then that is effectively turning them down.
Well, sometimes they have music ambient playing at the end. That's just some kind of recording.
Yeah, and you can turn everything off, and then go to the CD and just have the CD playing. That's typically.
Is there a master mute button?
Or a mute all? No. There are mute groups, but I'm not going to show you guys that. Basically, just as,
would be dangerous.
The pastor gets up there and he's praying, typically only the keyboardist will be playing. This happens almost every Sunday. So you can feel it's the end of the thing, you know they're not doing another song, so you just start muting the drums. You mute the bass, because he typically won't tinker along. Sometimes the electric guitar player, if he's really confident and proficient, he's going to play along with the keyboardist.
What he's saying is when Keith is up there, Keith will noodle with the piano player, but all the other guys, there's no noodling allowed.
Okay? If you see somebody's hands moving and you don't hear them, you know that you need to adjust.
Make sure they're unmuted.
I thought that was a stringless guitar.
Yeah, he said that.
That guitar doesn't have any strings on it.
Derek, how do you communicate to the musicians on stage? You have like a hot little mic you speak into?
Yeah, I do. This is called a talkback mic, and it has its own little channel matrix here. I click the display under talkback, and this is my volume here. And now I can route my voice anywhere. So, I could even put my voice in the lobby right now. Check, 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 check. You can't hear me because I'm in the lobby. The lobby.
What did you push to get in the lobby?
Lobby might be muted. Basically, I just found the lobby and I put a checkbox in there. So I use these little arrow keys. If I want to go in the main, so remember main center. Main center. Oh, that's loud. Main center is right here. So I'll show you right now. If I'm talking here, and I pull main center down, I'm gone. And if I put myself in the main left and right, check, you can still hear me. Now I'm double mapped, coming through both. And if I pull down left and right, you can still hear me. And I pull down center.
More times than not, though, the talkback goes to our monitors.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you're just talking to
the
musicians,
talkback.
like, hey, hit the kick drum.
Yeah, the talkback is permanently mapped. Well, not permanently, but it's configured right now to go into channel 16 of
You
their
push
monitors.
display for that?
This one right here.
Oh,
and this is the on button. So that's so you can see where it's going. If you're not routing it anywhere, it's still going to their monitors. So sometimes there'll be 15 seconds left. I'm sorry, I'm constantly getting in front. Sometimes there'll be like 15 seconds before worship starts. And I go down there and I go, hey, is everybody ready? Are you going to do a hard start at 0? That's they're going to kick off. And the leader will give me like a yes or a no, we're not ready. That darn bass player is still scrambling back there.
Or we might
so
start
we'll
like at a minute and, you're waiting to see and everything.
This is always set the same level, right? Because they can adjust it in their monitor, what you're saying.
Yeah. I pretty much, I only touch this when I'm going out here.
And how do you wear a set of headphones when you're talking back with the musicians? How do you hear what they're saying?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't hear what they're saying unless they're talking back from the stage.
You just
so
know that.
I will use this during practice when we can actually talk and they can talk back through their mics. But if we're live, if we're going in a worship thing, I communicate something, like something's really bad, like say Nancy Carnegie forgot to turn on her wireless mic, her handheld. I can go down there and say, Nancy, your mic's not on.
Go to somewhere
And then nobody else will hear it except her or the team.
Yeah, as long as nothing else is sent through here, it's just going into their headphones.
So during the service, it's only for an emergency technical issue.
Yeah.
Exactly. But before the service, I'll just talk to them through the mains. Does that make sense?
So this is
And
the
when
on.
that's red, that's on.
This is the on-off for the talkback, and what does this do?
Oh, that just shows you where it's going.
Oh, okay.
Display. So DISP. Anywhere you see that on the board, typically, where the lines are showing, it's the display for that part. So see the scene memory section? That's the display for scene memory. If you look at USB memory recorder, that's the display for the memory recorder, so for recording messages. If you want to look at the equalizer, that's the display for the equalizer. So it's kind of how you look at it.
And the computer screen doesn't follow what you're doing.
No. Basically, just think of them as two. I don't know how to explain it. Never mind. But basically, they're both on the same machine, but they're not doing it. They're doing whatever they want, essentially. Oh gosh.
Derek, can we have a 5-minute break?
Yeah.
Oh, well, one more question I want to ask you right quicker.
Yeah.
That I want to bring down. Let's say you're having a triple threat drama camp. You're up there, you're doing the sound for triple threat drama camp. You need to talk to the people backstage to let them know. How does the intercom system?
Oh yeah, so the intercom, remember I showed you guys COM A?
Yeah.
Whatever, so we have a bunch of these headsets. And basically, if you want to send an alert signal, you push this white button, and they'll have one of these flashy thingies back there. And they'll see someone wants to talk to me. So then they put their headset on like this, and there's a button here, you just click it in once, and now I'm on that COM channel. This is my volume of my headset, so that's quieter, that's louder, and that's how you turn it off.
This is for communicating with people in the back rooms?
There's one. You can have one of these on both sides of the stage in the back. So if you need to communicate with people, if you're having some kind of production, you can talk to them backstage and say, "Oh, look, this skit's getting ready to start. Make sure your people are coming out on stage." This person's got to get his headset on and get out on stage, without having to go down there and communicate to them. And this is for the sound person, or this is from the lighting person. This is for the sound board.
Yep. Okay, so if you guys have any other questions, take some time to think through it. Let's come back here at 11. That's 10 minutes. If you guys are ready to come back, just come back up here. I need to use the bathroom because I drank coffee this morning. And we'll reconvene there, and I'll walk you guys through the procedure now. How do you turn things on? So that'll be more
please no
functional
one
procedure.
leave, because I do have some closing remarks I want to make before you guys hit the road, unless you got to split for sure. We're at the closing stretch, so stay with us. Yeah. Where's the talkback stuff? I forgot what corridor of the,
is right there. You push this button. So please don't fly. Just stay with us if you can. If you go, no, this really isn't my skill set, then that's fine. You can fly. But I want you to give it an earnest shake before you make that decision. Shadow with them for 6 months or whatever. And then at that point where you get on Planning Center, which is our administrative thing, and you're booked that week, and you feel like I'm my first time by myself, guess what? He's still going to be here. You're never going to be completely alone, okay? You're always going to have somebody there who will have some sort of ability. So then right after this time, we'll get you guys shadowing if you want to continue. Then we're going to bring in Dave Gould, who's an absolute rock star. Doug Gould, our absolute rock star for sound and true treasure. And so you'll sign up with Tom for that, and he'll teach you more like the instrument. Sound is an instrument, like the artistry of it. And so I just say, walk through the journey, walk through the process. We spent a lot of time trying to coordinate this to make it a success. But I just want to encourage you. So if you're like, you need pastoral counseling afterwards, like I don't know what just happened. I'm just scared. I'll be in my office. We can talk about it.
And Joshua, can I
say
something real quick?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to share kind of my heart through working through sound ministry. At the end of the day, it is kind of an area of service where you're kind of expected to do really well. And if something goes wrong, people look at you, and that's really the only kind of attention you'll get. But ultimately, this is a ministry where you're really learning firsthand how to serve God and how to, what you're doing up there on the board. Yeah, you're controlling the mix for the whole congregation, but ultimately what you're doing is you're worshiping God directly through the soundboard. And so, if I'm getting there really early to set up a stage that's not ready, if I'm staying there really late, it's an area of service, but ultimately, I'm doing this directly for God, because, I care, and this is how you worship. I'm not saying I do this perfectly all the time. I'm just saying this is kind of a ministry where you're kind of forced to develop that mindset. Because if you come in as an electric guitar player, and you're up on stage, and you do this really cool solo, people will see that. People will go, oh, wow, he's the guitar guy. There's kind of a level of recognition, and that can be cool to get. Or say you're a worship leader or a pastor, or things like that. This is an area of service where there's a heavy load of responsibility, a lot of work associated with it, and not nearly as much thanks. But this is a ministry that will teach you to serve unto the Lord when nobody's looking. That's right. And God sees everything you're doing, and God's going to reward you for it. I'm not saying in this life, but God keeps track of all this stuff. So really use this ministry as an opportunity to trust God and serve Him only. And when you get a great mix and everything sounds really good, you get to enjoy that as a musician. You get to see, look at this cool thing I've created. Everybody who's worshiping gets to enjoy it, and it helps them connect with God more. And ultimately, you've done something really beautiful for God too. And so, kind of that's the heart behind this. When things get tough, and you're frustrated, and you're coming in early, and nobody gets my job because it stinks sometimes. God gets it, and He knows what you're doing, and He appreciates it. So that's just kind of how I think through this job spiritually, how I would encourage you guys to think about it as well. So,
just to add to that, most of the time, people never look up at the soundboard unless something's wrong.
That's true.
So just keep that in mind.
Then you can hide behind the thing.
Then you duck down.
Behind the console.
He did it.
And you'll let the lighting guy take all the heat. Was
that what the other board is?
Yeah.
So I want to add one more thing too. If you're feeling like you're really green, you can't hear well, you're not a technical person, what I would say is shadow Charlie. He's a sound staged hand. So you just follow him around. You'll get to see the nuts and bolts, like what plugs into where, how a sound check's run, what Charlie does. Do that for a few months, and then maybe you can do the sound, the stagehand job. And then you're good at that. Then go up to the board. So like a progression. Just be involved with something.
Another thing to point out too, I know that if Jeff Stoner was here, he'd probably point this out. That's another area where we could use another sound guy another stagehand, because we're one short. There's a lot of weeks that Jeff will serve 2 times, sometimes 3 weeks in a row, because he needs more stagehands. So if anybody's interested in helping out with that, and then also being available for the soundboard, that's another ministry that could be.
So he's going to train you to be a stagehand?
Yeah, well, him or
You
Charlie.
just partner up with somebody.
It's stagehand is like, if you even look at what we did today, stagehand's 25% of that. So if you can even track along with what we're doing today, it's very simple, and there's really barely any setup.
Okay, what time do you come to be a stagehand?
7:30.
You come at the same time.
7:30, 7:45
on a Sunday
well,
morning.
7:30. Excuse me.
Yeah, I wanted to say this too, just because John brought it up. So 7:30 is when the worship leader and the sound guy should be there in the room. 7:45, the band arrives. 8 o'clock, we should be already rehearsing. Like sound check's already done, we should be rehearsing at that point. Now, does that happen? No. That's why we're having this orientation. We're trying to get our musicians trained and our sound guys trained, because we really need that time to do rehearsal. So just stay with us. If it's this journey of stagehand to soundboard, fine. Just stay with us. We're going to walk you through the process as best as we know how. So, yeah. Yes, Nate.
With the shadowing, there are quite a few people here. How many opportunities are we going to have in that
2 to 1? So we'll have 2 people shadowing to 1 sound technician who's there. Because it gets a little crowded up there, and I don't know how much you can kind of do it.
And then it's just like once a week, or know, how many opportunities per week do we get?
Questions. We're trying to do that 2 times a month.
Okay.
So you'll be up there 2 times a month. There's a lot of people here, and we got to get feedback from our trainers, from Derek and Dave and the rest of them, to say, hey, is it working? Is it too crowded? Can we put another one in there to kind of move things along, that sort of stuff? But the person who administratively handles that's not me, it's not Keith. It's Ashley Stott. Okay? She's the secretary right as you walk in. She does the booking for that, and that actually comes through Tom, who's the official sound guy. So Tom's the one who makes the decisions. Ashley is the one who administrates it and sends the information out. Hey, you're booked for these 2 weeks and this month. And then you have to coordinate with Kids Quest or whatever ministry you're working in to make sure you can get clear off that week. If you're like, I'm not serving anywhere, then guess what? You're booked a lot more often. You get what I'm saying? If your availability's up, Tom's going to catch wind of that real quick and book you more. So that's how that process works.
I would think if we have people at the soundboard that are the official shadowers, I think we could probably open it up to well, just come to the rehearsal. You're in training. Just watch from off to the side. Watch what they're doing. I don't think that would be a problem if we had 10 people, as long as they're not interfering.
I mean, like where you're
We've already had that conversation. Oh, okay. We've already had that conversation with the sound guys and what is manageable to them. We might be able to expand it a little bit.
The only issue is, how much can you learn without touching?
Right.
Very, very little. There's only so much you can watch. I'm a hands-on guy, so you got to give me something, let me touch it, let me break something, and then I'll figure out what I really learned.
Right. Yeah. That's why I'm too.
You guys want to go back out there?
Yeah.
I'll walk you through.
So you can figure out the screen stuff faster. Would you think that would work? Like have a technical person and a musical person until we're both up to speed?
Yeah, I mean, however works out, schedule stuff.
And is there a manual for this?
There is. Google Roland M400.
So that's the name of the board.
You'll find
Roland? R-O-W-L-A-N-D?
R-O-L-A-N-D
400.
M-400.
And do you know if we're going to be going to like a Personas board in the future? Like how deep should we get into it?
So I don't think we should mess with this board for a long time. The system in here is very, very good.
Yes.
And we don't understand how good of a setup we have here.
This board costs $30,000.
Exactly.
We're not going to
swapping this out anytime soon.
Those are things to know. Yep.
The only other thing is we have a mobile mixing board, which has its own tricks and traps and the things that the devil. That I don't know when we're going to train people on. That needs a lot more training in this. This is almost more self-explanatory, but whatever. We'll worry about that another day. Okay, so Sunday morning. It's 7:30. You just walked in. Hopefully you had your coffee because it's going to be a long morning. But you come up here, and the first thing you do is you're going to turn the power button on. So you hit this green button, and you're going to wait for everything to load up. Okay, so this is more the procedure of how you run through, so kind of step by step. So step 1, turn everything on. Step 2, turn the computer on. I'm going to tell you guys, turn the computer on and sync it up, just because that's a good habit to get into. It's nice to have the option to use the mouse to do similar stuff. So you're going to press the power button on the computer, wait for it to start up. While you're doing that, there is a case here, right, with a bunch of USB flash drives. We've stored the settings for those personal mixers that are down there on the yellow flash drive labeled M48. What we're going to do is we're going to reset their settings to like a standard levels. To log in, you're going to click soundboard. Step 3, log in. Password is Psalm 119.
With a capital P.
Capital P. If you forget it, Tom knows.
Team specific?
No. Okay. It's just one standard. Basically, all it does is it sets all the volumes to 0 and makes sure that the inputs are mapped correctly. All right. Then we're going to come up here, and there's a little icon that looks just like the soundboard. So you double click that, step 4 or whatever, and there's this online button. Click on it. It's going to ask you, do you want to read from console? You say yes. Do you want to save the changes you've made in the last 30 seconds? No, you don't. Don't care about that, so no. All right. Oh, it's not responding. Oh.
Hey, Derek.
I'm doing it.
Is there any way I can get...
Okay, so I just tried again. Sorry. Let's see if it actually synchronizes up.
What's the yellow button say up at the
It's
top?
online, it's flashing.
It's flashing online. If it doesn't sync up, then we get the chance to do some troubleshooting.
So you guys are seeing, even in a perfect world, this is taking time, which is why we got to be there early. So even in a perfect world, with Derek right at the helm, we're still burning 5 minutes, 6 minutes already, and we haven't even powered on yet or synced up yet.
Yeah. But honestly, there's only about 10 minutes of work to do in the morning before the band gets here, so not that bad.
If you know what
Yeah, if you
If you know what you're doing. If you have a checklist. Hey, look, we're synced up. The yellow button is no longer flashing. We're synced, okay? All right. Now, it's important to reload the standard save file, right? So the board is a configuration. It's digital. We're going to reload from what we normally use. So you're going to go, after syncing. So you're going to go to scene memory here. You're going to click display. And then there's going to be a bunch of rows here. Please do not work in here without taking your time. Delete something. That's going to be a problem. We're going to scroll up using the scroll wheel. I'll give you guys the number so you have it every time. Go ahead and use Sunday Derek. Could be called Standard Sunday. Well, you can use Standard Sunday. All right, use Standard Sunday. Sunday Derek. It's just so I have what I did this time.
Can you go back a step and tell me where you click again?
Yep. Scene memory. A save file for the board is called a scene. Okay. So scene memory, you're going to go to scene 10, and you're going to hit recall. It's going to ask you, recall from scene 010, 10. So you're going to hit recall. Note that this is going to overwrite whatever's on here, but if you're coming in the morning, it doesn't matter. Recall. As soon as the sliders move, you're set. Okay? Exit. So now you've loaded the scene. So you should have the standard configuration, however it was saved last time. Okay? Now we're going to load the standard monitor mix. So there's a USB port right to the side where you're going to plug it in. Okay?
Where did you get that?
out of this other case.
There's a little case
Now,
here.
there's more of them in there. What are they?
What's the case say?
The case
Says
says
nothing.
sound booth.
Does it? I can't read that.
I'll relabel it.
All right. You know, women like colors. If you put like a pink thing on there, it's definitely easier to remember. It's like, oh, that's the pink thing with the yellow thing. And
I'm going to call this USB sticks.
He's relabeling it USB sticks.
Unfortunately, it's a green marker.
Sorry, no pink. I don't have anything.
So
USB sticks.
Prominent, make laboratory equipment.
you load the sticks on the side.
Yep, so the sticks go here. We have a blue one called Sunday Message. This is what we record the message on. Another blue one, which you can record on.
what's
We don't use these.
that? Oh.
I think it's just some kind of dongle for a keyboard. Okay, so I plug it in. This next step is we're going to be doing the monitors. So you click Display on the monitors here, and you're going to click M48 Manager. M48s are what we call those monitor units.
The little boxes down there by the musicians.
Yep.
We went over that.
Notice that there are 2 units here. Why are there 2 units? These are the units that are currently plugged in. So there's one unit that was plugged in backstage that I was showing you earlier. PU keys. Now this is where, Ed, you asked that question about the colors on the monitors. PU is purple. So there's like a purple index card taped onto that unit, and it's usually used for the keys. So that's kind of how you know what it is. WI, white drum. So there's an M48 monitor back there with the drums. They're the ones plugged into the system right now. When you come in on the morning, you should see 8 units all plugged in. If you're missing a unit, it's because one's not plugged in. So tell the stage guy, hey, I need you to, where's the extra unit plugged in? Okay? What we're going to do is we're going to load our save file on one of these units, and then later copy from that unit and paste it on the other ones. So it doesn't matter which one you use. So I'm going to go on the first unit and click Load/Save. Now I'm going to click Enter and select just one unit to load to. I'm going to go over here, and now it's important to pick the right file. I should probably clear out a lot of this junk. Okay, it's the first one. It's called Sunday-AMB. Stands for Sunday Ambient. Okay, and all you're going to do now is there's no checkbox. You're just going to click Load. It's going to say this process will require about a minute. Load. All right, so you're still here before the musicians are here. So they haven't had a chance to make a mix or anything, so you're not going to be overwriting anything they do. You're just trying to set the level so...
Now, is this all printed out on a page somewhere on these directions?
Nope.
They're not.
So we have to go through this process of reloading everything
I can
before
help
they...
create that.
Thank you, Nathan. That's what we need to hear, is we need to create processes.
Yep.
So when all these things, all these notes are, you give them the key, right? Then we can create something that's going to be helpful for everybody with colors and everything. I mean, all of it. Like
Also,
yeah.
there's probably a checklist or a to-do list for this if you look online. So maybe in the manual there might even be a section about loading to the M48s. Oh, because those units are made to use with this board. So that documentation may exist already. Notice how it's saying sending memory 14? We have 16 channels, 16 instruments that you can control on those monitors. So it's sending each channel right now, the memory for each. Completed. The reason I only loaded it to one and not all of them is when, just a little computer thing, when you're going from a USB to standard memory, it's a really slow process to copy. So if I did that for every unit, it would take a lot longer. Now that I've loaded that into memory on this unit, I can use a copy function to whatever I selected right now, whatever I hit copy, I'm copying what's selected, copying the settings, and I'm going to do mark all, and obviously deselect this because I don't want to paste it on top of itself. And I'm going to hit paste. And so all I'm doing now is I'm saying, okay, I loaded the standard configuration onto one of the M48s because that's fast. Well, it's as fast as you can do it. And then I'm pasting from that one unit to every remaining unit. And look, it's done already. Very quick because it's already loaded. Okay, so now all your M48s are nuked. Back to the normal settings. You can exit and get out of that menu. So if we were to go on stage, you would see one of those M48 mixers, and they would have lights. All the dials would be turned down, and all the inputs would be set correctly.
So it turns the dial down automatically on the M48?
Based on the save settings here.
Okay.
All right, so now we're done with this. So you're going to pull it out and put it back in the case. And now we're going to pull out the Sunday message USB stick.
So before you do that, I got one question.
Yeah.
So they're all up there, and John Bolts is leading. I have no control over my M48. Can you please reboot my monitor? Do you just copy somebody else's scene onto his, or do you have to reload the stick?
I'm not sure what problem you're talking about right now.
Say they're all, everybody's got control where they can adjust sound up and down on every channel. And then for some reason, John's, I got no control over anything. And they say, oh, hold on, I'll reboot your monitor or...
No control. If you've done the work of copying the settings and everything's on the standard settings, the only problem he could be talking about is maybe what he means by I don't have enough control over my monitor is, you know, he's a certain vocal. So maybe he can't get his vocal to be loud enough for himself. All right?
Well, no, sometimes you turn the dials and you're not getting any change.
That happened to me last Sunday.
So what do you do when you have to renuke or, you know?
Honestly, I'm not sure. The unit could be frozen. It may not be plugged in all the way.
Would that be something to do?
There's
Though,
not
just
one
to take
fix.
the Cat 5, pull it out, plug it back in?
Probably.
I don't know, man. It's hard for me to say because the situation, you know, people use different verbiage to describe certain problems. And the problem that's coming to my mind that I usually have to fix is maybe the instrument isn't loud enough for him, so he can't dial his thing all the way up. So what I usually, the standard fix I'll do is I'll go down there and I'll show them, hey, turn all your other instruments down and turn your main volume up.
Yeah.
And now you will have more push on the particular channel that you want. That's one thing I'll show people to do. The other option is maybe the instrument they're doing is really quiet. And I'll use the preamp. So if we're looking at the kick, say the kick's too quiet, I'll turn the preamp up. Pre means before, amp, amplification. So you're boosting the signal when it's coming into the board so that when you send it back out to the monitors, it's louder. And that's what Keith was saying earlier about if you see red on the signal coming in, it's too much. So you got to turn the preamp down. Okay? That's not part of the checklist. Sorry to deviate from that, but that's kind of, okay. So what do we just do? We finished copying the monitor mixes, and now we're just going to plug in the Sunday message USB stick. We save all the Sunday services, or just the pastor's message, onto a USB drive. We record directly from the system into that stick. To get to the recording display, because this is something I try and check in the morning, you hit display here, and you'll see a lot of files in here now. I never want to delete or do anything from here because the file system's kind of finicky. So let's just do that. It's just a USB drive, so you can plug it into the computer like any other USB stick. And if you open it up, to scroll to where the files are, you go in RSS and M400. M48 are those monitors, so we don't record anything from them. And you go to songs. Okay? These are all the recorded files. If you sort by date modified, you'll see we have some files from April through May. Okay? I've already showed the sound guys how to copy the stuff off every Sunday. Maybe I'll show you guys that. I'm just going to delete these because these files do take up a lot of space. I think it's just half a gig maybe.
Some preachers are more long-winded than others. You know?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know anything about that, though.
Okay, so
these files are kept somewhere else, right?
Yeah, I'll show you the
right?
copy.
Just in case you delete something and there's backup, right?
Yeah, anything I deleted, we would have already put on the server because we need them for people to listen to. Okay, so notice how I plugged it back in. Now there's only one file. So I want to test that the recording will work. So I hit record. and notice that it's flashing. And I'm going to send, you'll never have to do this, I just want to demonstrate something. I'm going to send this talk back to aux 4. Who's familiar with the concept of auxes? Okay. Essentially, you're designating a channel that you're sending into for a particular purpose.
But aux is an abbreviation for auxiliary, right?
Auxiliary, yeah. So basically, I'm sending sound into a channel to do something. We have aux 4 routed to the recorder. So anyway, I'm just sending this signal into the recorder. So I'm going to start talking. Check, 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 check. You guys see how I have volume now? So now since I'm going into the recorder, I can see the level. So we know that we're getting sound and stuff like that. What I'll do is in the morning, I'll just do a quick recording here. See that it goes for a few seconds and then stop. So again, the steps to record are you hit record, you get levels, but no clock is ticking. So you have to click play. And now you're recording. Notice how it's green, you're getting time ticking, and when you're done, you hit that again. And now I have 2 more files. So to record the sermon, when Warren or Jason or someone gets up, I'll already have this flashing. This will let you know that you're getting ready to record. And then you'll just hit play when they start talking. And when they're done, everyone's done, you just hit stop. So that's the recorder. An issue you may get is if you're plugging the USB drive in and the board doesn't like it or it can't read from something here, then it has something to do with the internal computer. So what I would do in that case is I would just turn off the board in the back, turn it back on. You guys should never see that problem. But know that if something's not taking, meaning like this can't synchronize to that or the USB drive is not recognized, then it's probably just a little digital kink. Like any computer or something running on Windows or whatever, you got to reboot it every once in a while.
Where's the power switch for the board?
Right back.
Does it say off, on, or is this a button we really need
It does
to
say.
identify?
It says off and on. It's a little switch,
Good.
and it's right by the power cable. There's no other switches back there.
But you never want to turn the board off there. You always want to turn it off.
Yeah, if you're doing a normal on-off thing. You should never do that reboot.
What are the most common problems to expect for the average sound person here dealing, on a Sunday morning? Not the abnormal ones, because we're not at that advanced level yet, but just the common ones that happen every Sunday.
Yeah.
Top 5, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, I'm just going to finish this part. At this point, I've finished most of the setup. As musicians come in, we're going to do sound check time. So if someone walks in and they're at their instrument, I'm just going to ask them to sound check. So I'll pull up my talkback mic. I'll route myself out into the mains. I'll say, hey, Keith, are you ready to sound check? And Keith will go, no, I take forever to set up my guitar. So I go and ask the keyboard. I ask the person playing keyboard, hey, can you play something on the keyboard? And I go over to the keyboard layer. Oh, wrong there. Even I forget. I go to the keys, and they start playing, and I'm going to see signal. So I'm going to make sure it's not too loud. I'll unmute it. I'll push them up, make sure I hear them. The sound's usually pretty good because I just loaded my settings, so everything's already set. I go, okay, that's good, thank you. And I usually, if you're doing a sound check, ask everyone to not play. Musicians just want to get on and tinker and stuff, and you hear all that noise, and it gets very frustrating and hard. So for sound check, you just ask one person does it at a time. You're just checking, am I getting line level, right? Am I getting level set? Is it getting keyboard? Okay? So now you ask, okay, hey, acoustic guitar's there, Joshua, can you play? You get it, you go, okay, good. You do a drum sound check, you're good. So now you finish sound check. And you basically just say to the leader, okay, I'm good. I have what I need. And usually during sound check, they're turning their monitor mixes. So when the acoustic guitarist is playing, the guy on keyboards goes, oh, what channel is he in? He'll see it on his thing. He'll turn it up. He'll go, oh, that's good. And then usually I'll try and ask the worship leader, hey, can you do a minute of one song, if you guys can, to just make sure that your levels are set correctly, you guys can hear each other, everything's running on all 4 cylinders, okay? So that's the procedure for coming in the morning. The rest of the morning, you're just going to be practicing for yourself now. So you're going to be...
At what point do you turn the sound on in the lobby?
Forgot about that. And if you forget about it, Tom and Ed will come up and remind you. So I've been doing this for how many years now? I still forget to send sound in the lobby. We play background music in the morning if you get here in church. Where do we play it from? We play it from this CD thing.
Let me just say why this is important too.
Wow.
We are introducing new songs to the congregation in the lobby. So before they come in, so if you forget it, it's kind of diabolical to those new songs we're going to be introducing 6 months from now. You get what I'm saying?
We're sending them subliminal messages.
Yes. So like I call that bumper music. As they're coming in and as they're leaving, we're bombarding them with new stuff. Okay. So when I come in and it's not playing, it is frustrating because there is a process that's kind of gone through all this. So that's why Ed comes in like he does to make sure it's playing. Thank you, Ed.
Yeah.
Ed likes music.
I'm sorry. I can't believe I forgot that part. Okay. Another thing you're going to do, so this is part of that early morning, whatever. You finish loading the settings and stuff, and you're going to make sure there's a CD in here. Usually it's the right CD. You're going to hit play. You're going to wait till this thing starts ticking up. All right, we're playing. There's a little, another matrix thing here that helps you figure out what you're sending from. We have a CD1, a CD2, a computer, and an iPod cable, all here. They will all, depending on what you have selected here, be routed into the CD left and right channel on the board. It's a quick way of switching inputs. So if I'm playing something on CD1, I leave it selected CD1. If I'm playing something on CD2, I select CD2. If I'm playing something from Spotify, something like that from the computer or YouTube video, I'll plug this in to the headphone jack on the computer right here, and I'll play through there. If I want to play something on my iPod or maybe a laptop, switch to iPod. So now something's playing on the CD. It's going to come in through the standard CD input. So that's on this layer. Oh, look, we got levels, okay? So if I unmute this, so now we're hearing it out here. But we don't want it out here because the worship band needs to practice.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pull it down. All right?
Was that Spotify playing just then?
No, this is the CD.
Oh, you got a CD one. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
So now we have levels in the CD. We need to send this to the lobby. So what you're going to do is, now I didn't introduce you guys to the concept of the user layer, right? We have 3 layers, 1, 2, and 3, okay? The third layer is aux DCA. This is kind of like stuff you guys shouldn't have to worry about often. aux 4, like I said, is recording. So this needs to not be muted, but you won't ever have to really touch this because it's set if you recall from the proper scene. Center channel is its own on the aux DCA layer. And the lobby is not there because I don't have user layer selected. So lobby is right here. See how it's labeled on the tape? User layer is you can specify your own settings, how you want things to be. We have a certain configuration. All you need to know is make sure this red light's always on. All right, so just make sure this is pressed. And lobby is here. I'm sorry, guys. This is a lot of steps and it's kind of confusing.
What was that? Hits bathrooms too, right?
Yep. So the lobby is everything in that control booth there. It's the bathrooms and it's the lobby. It's the kitchen and the nursing mother's room. So if you click here, you'll see a little routing matrix. What do you want to send to the lobby feed? Okay. I wonder if I can pull it up on this computer as well. aux DCA. So where are we sending to the lobby right now? We're sending from, so this is on, so we're sending from main, left, and right. So whatever you hear out here is going to the lobby right now. Center channel, whatever is going through the vocal channel, the center channel is going out to the lobby. So before service, we want them to practice in peace without bothering people out there. So we're going to go to that yellow square where it says on, and we're going to hit enter and turn it off. And we're going to go over to the CD, left and right, and turn that on. So now I effectively said, okay, CD, you're going to go to the lobby. when they start playing now, and now if it's actual worship time, the projection team needs to hear what's happening in here. So we're going to turn off the CD. So we're going to turn on main, left, right, and center. So you either have it set to main, left, right, and center for real worship time, or you have it set to the channel left and channel right here.
Did I understand you right to say that the projection team is getting the lobby sound?
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And how do you turn that off?
Turn it.
You want to turn that off when they're...
Yeah, when they're practicing out in here and we don't want to send it to the lobby, we use these arrow keys to manually select those on squares, and we turn the CD on here. Wow. Notice that now, hey look, there's a light on the lobby feed, right? This is the main volume for that lobby feed. Just like a regular channel, so you push it up, now we're sending louder to the lobby, you pull it down, we're sending less.
I just question, why would the projection team need to hear the sound in the lobby if they're really hard to...
That's basically
So
what
they know
we're
when-
playing, so they can hear where the music is going.
Make it advanced.
Are you talking about during practice?
No, she's saying they're getting the
Yeah,
lobby.
in
Why are they getting the lobby?
Before anything happens in here.
So we don't get the choice. If we want to send music to the lobby, then we have to send it up there as well. It's only one setting.
But they can turn that down with their own volume control.
Okay.
Yeah, they have
If
their
they
own
don't
volume
want it
knob.
up there, they can just turn the volume control.
They open that door in the morning so they can hear what's going on in practice.
Okay.
But they don't get here till later anyway.
Yeah, but that's going to change too, because they need to be locking it in with the band, because the
Yeah.
song sequence and the order and all that sort of stuff, they need to know.
Yeah.
So some of that we'll work and pray. It's all a process. We're working on it.
And then another thing people need to be aware of too, when you turn on the lobby feed, sometimes the lobby feed's too hot. So
loud.
It's too loud out there. So whoever's down there needs to come up and say, the feed's too loud. Because sometimes the volume gets too loud and you can't turn it down low enough. Sometimes it'll be going in there so loud that it distorts. So you have to come up here and tell the sound person, you need to turn it down so that you're not sending so strong a signal.
Yeah.
Because you can only do so much with those control knobs.
Is there a standard setting on that for lobby?
Yeah, I usually like, so I made this.
Now, let's make a note of that, whatever the standard is, because I'm curious too.
I'm going to send, see how I'm turning these individual sends up? I'm just making it louder. So now see, now I've hit 2 bars. Usually for the morning, I like to just have it, flickering around there. Essentially,
is there not a number there for that?
Not really. Essentially, there's a wall knob in the lobby, so as long as you're not like up here, it's not too loud, and they can turn it up or down on the wall. And if it's not too quiet, like right now, I'm sending stuff to the lobby, but you can't even see the signal.
How many bars are there?
Around 1 to 2.
6 bars. 6 bars total.
Yep.
So 2 out of.
So that's typically the volume we'll send. Notice that when I switch back to main, left, right, when it's actually time for worship, this is going to get a heck of a lot louder because we're pumping in a whole, so I usually turn this down a little bit. But people can turn the volume up to their own, so it's not mission critical.
Is there only one control in the lobby that controls all those different
No,
areas?
no. There's individual volume knobs. There's a wall knob in there, wall knob in the kitchen, wall knob in the nursing mother's room, in the bathrooms, and the lobby.
The bathrooms, you can actually turn it almost all the way up.
That's great, yeah.
Yep.
Did not know any.
Okay, so yes, it's important to set that in the morning. So turn the CD on, switch to the CD send, unmute the CD, turn down the CD, go to the user layer, click on lobby, reroute to the CDs. That's wrong. I need to fix that. Okay. What did I just do with the user layer? Remember how I told you about that tom that we don't use? The drum mic, number 2, right? It's gone now. So if you go kick, snare, tom 1, tom 3, tom 4. The user layer, I've configured it to kind of make that channel not appear because we don't use it. So always use the user layer because it actually has a better layout for you guys. So with this layout, the drums are still here on the bottom. You have bass, but notice there's no CD mon anymore. And we get all the way to keys, all the way here. Now the CD, the video, prophecy mic, wireless B, and the pastor, they're all on here. And even if you change the layer, these are all the same. So it makes it easier from a sound guy perspective. No matter what layer you're on, you can always access the CD, you can always access the video, you can access the prophecy mic. Prophecy mic is that open mic we have down there that you guys have all seen people talk to. A while ago, Jason talked about putting a foot pedal down there, so it's always on. And if you push down the foot pedal, it turns the volume on. That's a better configuration because right now we manually mute and unmute it. So you have to pay attention as the sound guy if someone's down there and going to talk, because if not, then everyone is waiting. And so we should get that pedal thing so it's always on and you just push it on. So I don't actually know what goes into getting the pedal thing to work, but anyway, so that's prophecy mic. Pastor is the wireless unit we use for the pastor. Okay, last few things here. We have a submix for the drums now. So if you set the drums well, you can push them all up together or push them down together, kind of like it's their own main. So that's labeled here called drums. You have the subwoofers. So if you guys heard when we were hitting the kick drum, right, there was kind of a rumble. So we have the mains up there, and we have these lower, what are called subwoofers in the stage. So not the boxes you see on the stage; those are front fills. But the subwoofers control the lowest parts of the frequency.
They're underneath the stage where you see those grills.
They're in the stage. So I'm actually going to put the CD in the subs, so we get kind of a feel for what that is. Just change songs. So I'm going to push the submix in. We only send the kick drums and the bass guitar to the subs. You control how much subs you have in your mix by this slider. If you put it up really high and there's a lot of rumble, some people don't like that. And so you really have to be careful. You want enough subs in there so when you're down on the floor, it feels warm, but you don't want that chest up thing like rumble, because a lot of people will be really distracted by that.
This is all in the aux layer we're talking about now?
Yes, it is in the aux layer, but with the user layer light on, you have control of it on either of these first two layers. So this channel is always the center channel for the vocals. This channel is always the subwoofer channel.
Okay.
And this channel is always the drums channel, as long as this red light is turned on. Joshua.
One other quick question. So I've noticed, not so much anymore, but some people didn't know how to turn on the subs. Some people didn't know how to turn on the front fields. So are these separate buttons that they're pushing for this? Because I know you just activate it here. How do they initially turn them on?
I made a mistake when I saved the board settings. Like a few months ago where I accidentally muted the subs. And so I just noticed that now. Because I usually don't use the standard Sunday scene. I use my own scene. So I'm going to fix that so you guys don't have to worry about that. Subs will be turned on.
So what you're saying is when you put in the USB for the ordinary service, the subs and front fields will be on.
We only load the monitor mixes from the USB.
Oh, sorry.
The normal. I'm being
your
over
preset
specific.
on that machine. What I'm saying will be got it.
Yep. Yeah. Because I'll fix that. Front fills, last kind of thing. Are those boxes down there? If you sit in the front row, like if you're an important pastor family, no, I'm just kidding. You're kind of below the speakers and the sound's passing over you.
Yep.
So they put those speakers down there so you're still getting
the high end part.
The high end, the vocals, you're getting that part of the mix. So it's not over you. So
it's the worst place to sit in the church for as far as quality sound.
Actually, yeah, this is the best seat in the house.
Yes.
Which is kind of frustrating because you'll have a kick butt mix up here and you'll go down on the floor and you'll realize, wait a minute, the bass isn't nearly as loud down here. How does that make sense? How is the bass louder up here than down there? I don't know. It's just how the guys engineered it. So one of the things you can do while you're doing worship practice is you can get up, leave the board, and walk around down there. See how it actually feels. And you'll be able to hear it with your ear as you walk from the right to the left. You'll hear, we don't have pockets of empty space, but you do have areas where, wow, that's not as full. It's usually right around the edges.
So if you have a laptop, what would you hook up to which?
We don't have that integration.
Oh, we can't walk around and mix with a laptop?
No. No, we can't, unfortunately. That would be really slick.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, we don't.
You can do that with the personas.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we can do
We
that.
won't get into that.
No, we won't, because that's a pain. Okay, so what have I said? What's the important stuff to take away? I'm going to run real quick through the process. Turn this on. With the on button, thing comes up, turn the computer on, load the software, sync it up with the board. You're going to load the monitor mix from that yellow USB. You're going to load the scene from this, scene 10. Then you're going to turn the CD on, make sure it's routed to the lobby with all that black magic I showed you. Now you're going to do a sound check for them down there, make sure everyone's unmuted, make sure their levels are pretty much set. Then you're going to pretend it's a normal Sunday service, and you're going to practice mixing for yourself as if everyone's here. One thing to note, there's no bodies in this room right now, so it's going to feel a lot louder. One, you're tired in the morning, so it feels louder. Two, there aren't as much bodies to soak up noise, so it's going to feel louder. But when the room fills up, it's suddenly not going to feel as loud. You'll mix, and then the worship leader will be done. With practice, you'll mute the channels, and you'll go back to the CD, and you'll push it back up in the room so that it's kind of a comfortable background level, and you'll go over back to the lobby, and you'll switch it back to the mains. So now it's 20 minutes before service starts. So you kind of have some background music playing. The mains are now sent to the lobby. So since you have the CD in the lobby, or CD in the house, the CD is also going to the lobby as well. Makes sense?
And let me just say too, like, worship leaders, band, we're done at 9:30. You pull the plug on us at 9:30, even if we're not ready, because we've
Unless
got people
they're really
coming
not
in.
ready, because people don't really get here until quarter.
We're working on that one too.
But if you really have to, we still have a half an hour of like panic time. We really don't have problems that often. I haven't been here recently.
It was the one in the million, guys. It was the one in the million.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. John and Lorraine came in on the 1 in a million Sundays.
And there's only 4 new people integrated.
Yeah.
And then what happens after that? Oh, if the projection team is a video for you, how do you configure that? Well, luckily enough, this is the one thing that we can pass off to them. All we have to do is unmute the video sound. And so whatever they're playing on the video should appear here, kind of like the CD is. So you set the level, make sure the video is coming through, and then you're good. Anything else I can think of?
So like if they're doing like a video illustration, like the pastor uses a video illustration, they have control over that, you're saying?
Yep.
And all you do is hit
for the volume.
unmute video.
Yep. You're basically just opening the channel for them to send.
That's cool.
That's annoying.
So who picks the CDs? Are they there waiting? Do you have discretion to play music of your choice?
Pretty much, we play whatever's up here. If there's a new CD, typically it'll be sitting here with a nice little note, new CD for fall 2017. Then you just, everyone can load a CD into a CD player, I'm assuming. So you open it up and
I know how to do that.
Sometimes if they want a certain
I can
CD,
do that.
when you get on the sound team, and I know you're going to be on, you'll get this printout.
Sunday morning playlist, spring 2017, nicely labeled. You check your time of year, make sure you're in the spring.
Sometimes if they want a certain
Nobody will
CD,
know.
they'll put it in the notes right here.
Better to have music than no music, eh?
Yep. If you can't find a CD or if you're having a problem, obviously get the worship team rolling with practice and find Tom or Ashley. No, Ashley wouldn't be here. So find Tom. Chances are he'll find you if the CD is not playing, and you can figure that out with him. One time I showed up and the note said play a new CD, and the CD was nowhere to be found. So he told me, okay, play this other CD. So, okay, now we're pretending the service is over. Warren has already been talking. You unmuted his pastor's mic, and then you recorded it. You stopped the recording, and now you're hungry and you're ready to be done. But you're just gonna take out the memory for, you recorded the sermon on this. So you have to put this somewhere for Ashley to grab it in the office.
And then she's gonna put it on.
So the steps are you plug the CD in, or you plug the USB in, you go RSS and 400 songs, you sort by date modified. That's pretty much the quickest way to find it.
There's no step for safely removing the USB from this?
Nope, you just unplug it.
I guess once you stop it.
Yeah,
If it's
make sure you're not recording
okay,
it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's recording, can you screw stuff up?
I've never tried it. I certainly wouldn't want to.
No,
So.
but there's nothing to actually stop you doing that.
No, there isn't.
Okay.
It's just a physical, you unplug it. So make sure you stop the recording and everything's done. If you're recording, this will be lit.
Okay.
So this USB stick is the only recording of the sermon that's happening. There's no other person recording it in any other method.
We used to use a backup here to record it. But the backup was kind of pointless because it was recording out the same part of the board. So the only thing you're catching there is, if you have a problem, is if, for some reason the USB stick is full or something like that. I realize it's not a true redundancy thing, because if that was the case, you should be routing from some other method in the board so that in case something's muted, it still worked. That's something we'll probably try and figure out. But for now, just worry about the USB stick. You write to it, you stop it, you unplug it, plug it in, and you take whatever the song, because they're all just going to be a labeled song, you figure out based on the date modified which one's the sermon. Also, it'll probably be half a gig, so like 500,000 kilobytes. I usually just rename it right here. I'll go today's date, so 6-10-17 underscore Warren, Warren, and that's it. So that gives the date who was speaking. And I'll open up Google Chrome. So what we use Google Drive to that's where we put our messages, so that Ashley.
We have to set it up for her.
Yeah, basically we just copy it up for her. I have Google Chrome defaulting to open to my drive. Should already be logged in with the soundboard account. Okay? So all you do is, remember, for speed, it takes time to copy from a USB drive to the computer. So first, drag it onto the desktop. That took a short amount of time because, remember, I only recorded for 4 seconds. Okay? Once it's on the desktop, it's faster to actually upload it to Google Drive. So it's all really easy. It's just drag and drop. So you're just going to drag it in here, and it's going to do the upload. And when it finishes, you should see it in here. As long as it's up there, Ashley can go to the Google Drive, download it, and upload it onto the church's website. So your responsibility as a sound guy is just record it, plug it in, put it on the desktop, and then open up Google Drive and plug it in here. Just so you guys know, somebody write this down, the Soundboard Gmail account to get to Google Drive is SGC, Sovereign Grace Church, NJ, Sound. And the password is, this is a standard password that we use. But
Psalm 192.
no, oh shoot, it's not supposed to be capitals. Password is temp for now. 3 for an E, 4 for the 4, 0 for the O. This is LEAP.
But now, what'd you say? 10 for now?
Yeah, temp for now. But T3MP 4N0W.
Got it.
Nobody will ever be able to hack her.
I should probably change the password to be Psalm 119. But if I did that, then I'd have to tell Ashley, so it's probably just easier to leave it like this. So.
Well, one thing that I don't think we covered was the handheld mics, remote mics.
No, we didn't cover that. I can show you guys how to turn those on and stuff. Okay. So that's how you copy that over. Now it's on the server. We leave it. For the most part, I would prefer if you guys left it on the desktop. That way we have a copy locally, because I try and delete things off this USB disk, because if it fills up, uh-oh, now we can't record anymore. So if you leave a copy on the desktop, after a month, we know we don't need the file anymore. So, you can go through here and delete things with old dates on them.
We don't have any tape backup or any server backup or I guess it's not a server, it's just a...
Yeah, basically, I put it on the Google Drive. Ashley then puts it on the church's website. I'm assuming they have some kind of server backup or something with how that works out.
I've had issues with, say, Dropbox Online Drive, which I assume is very like
Google Drive.
Google Drive,
yeah,
where it erased an entire project I was working on at work.
Really?
So yeah,
this
and
the
they
nice
have no responsibility in that.
Right. It's kind of use it at your risk. We don't store anything on the Google Drive, so it's really just a temporary place to put it, so it's easy for them to access. So we don't worry about leaving things long term at Google Drive. You will see a bunch of folders on here. I do use this as a temporary holding place to put things that maybe we need. Back when I was mixing the sermons myself, I would put them in a folder here, so we had some catalyst messages up here. Probably go through and delete these because really they're not being used practically. But just dump yours in the directory here.
I've got a quick question. I don't mean to box stuff down. But we also we record the sermons video.
Mm-hmm.
So
how does that work?
So what I'm saying is that synced then with what you're doing here?
No, so they're recorded separately. Video is recorded there, and the sound may be recorded along with it, but it's just whatever's coming with that mic. So what we do is our part is we record the audio directly through the system.
Right.
And when I put it up there, Dan McClure will actually grab our copy of the sermon and he'll overlay that on top of his video. He syncs it up in his video editing software.
Wow. I did not know that, and he does a fantastic job. If you haven't downloaded the app to see the videos, they look professional grade. They're really good.
He does a great job with that.
So that's not tied together.
No.
Wow.
We used to tie it together, but then the video guy would be bothering the sound guy the whole time, being like, "Hey, can you send me more volume? Hey, can you send me less volume?" And it was just like a pain. So now we just worry about recording it here and we patch it together in an editing software. And it's really not that hard. You just put the two tracks there and back it up until the guy's mouth lines up with the sound. So.
Guys, I have to hit the road, unfortunately, and I know we're not done. But just thank you so much for coming. You have questions, you ask Derek, you ask Keith. I've got to go. I've got a daddy duty situation. So,
and we're very close too. We're almost done. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
See you, Joshua.
Hey, can we give Derek a round of applause or two?
Okay, so that handles pretty much. I've flooded you with a wealth of information. What should you take away from this, right? So, take away, you know how to turn on the board with the green light. When it boots up, you know how to find an instrument on here. So you know if the guitar needs to be in the mix, how do I find it? You click the select buttons until you see it. If you can't find it, then you're probably on the wrong layer. So switch to the next layer, continue looking for it. To put it in the system, you unmute it, and then you push it up here, the slider. This is your main volume, so if your main volume is too quiet, everything will be too quiet. And then the only other thing you need to know for like a smaller setup is make sure the pastor's mic is unmuted and it's working. I'll show you guys how that physically works down there on the stage. When you're done, don't need to save or anything because the standard configuration is always there. Just hit the power button.
Hold down the master first, right in the main. When you're
yeah,
done.
I mean, you don't need to. You don't need to. It's not a big deal. Hit the off button.
I was told not to touch that. The
Really?
overall master, like when you're mixing.
I use this to, if I find that I'm mixing and then suddenly the next thing I know, I'm trying to all my drum sliders are up here because I just kept pushing up and I still don't have enough volume. I'll push the main volume up and I'll kind of like adjust everything accordingly. It's kind of a pain, so that's why you want this to be at a good enough volume that you can push up higher if you want on individual instruments, but you can also pull them down a little quieter.
dB meter.
dB meter. This is important. Yeah, I didn't show you guys this. This holds the dB meter, decibels. It rates your volume. The settings on this are very important because otherwise you'll get a bogus number. All right. So turn this dial until you get to 90, because that's the average we're shooting for. There's a weighting. There's like a little letter down here. Probably you guys can't see it, but click the weighting button until it changes to A. It's the difference between, say, measuring the sound in a concert hall and measuring the sound in an industrial factory. It has to do with how it listens for the sound. So make sure it sets A weighting, because C will give you really bogus numbers. I changed my response to slow, so I just click the response button. There's two options, fast or slow. I like to get more of an average. If you do fast, then you'll see the numbers move faster, and you'll get more of the peaks. Like, so you'll see a peak at 94, and you'll go, wow, that's really loud. But more often the average, is a lot more reasonable. And then you just sit and you watch the number, and it'll tell you, 88, 89, 90. I don't usually use this until I have a good mix where I'm happy with it, and then I'll start seeing, okay, how's my overall volume? If I need to push it down a little bit, I'll just push things down a little bit. If I need it to be a little louder, I'll just control it through here. That's the dB meter. Make sure you turn it off when you're done. Otherwise, you'll drain the battery, and we'll have to put a new 9-volt in it.
Question, do you ever walk around with that to get different readings?
I don't, just because I usually take the average at the board. That's the number we use. But if you use the dB meter down there, you'll get a different number. And it may not be reflective with what's up here. So whenever we measure decibels, we measure from here, because we know that 90 from here is the, kind of the best average and what we want to shoot for. Okay, let's do... I've mentioned a lot of stuff. Before I show you the wireless mics, because that's really just a tail end thing, it's really quick. Any questions you guys have that have kind of popped up about anything I said, anything you want me to clarify or go over and repeat?
A lot of information. We're going to need to go over it a couple times before we even know what questions to ask.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I wish there was less information about this board. One of the metaphors I use to talk about is it's kind of like you're the pilot and you're flying the whole congregation through the worship mix. So, if the pilot's not very good, then the plane's going to have turbulence and it's going to be bumpy, and everyone's going to be distracted and not have a smooth flight. So you're kind of in a way controlling what everybody hears and how the service goes. So what you're doing is very important. But yeah, it's also really fun because you get to play all the instruments at once. That's my favorite thing. I don't know how to play the guitar or play the drums, but I know how they're supposed to sound. I know their place in a song. And I sure as heck can make a killer mix that they all work together. So I get to play them all at once, and it's really fun. Okay.
I got a question. Once you shut the system down, you have to re-bum it for the setting?
What do you mean, when I'm done for the day?
No,
like,
come up, when you turn it back on, it'll have that standard Sunday. After you...
Well, that's it. When you put your thumb drive in to put the settings in, what takes it out of the system, just pulling it down, or shutting it down?
It's saved.
So
why do you got to put it in every Sunday?
Because you change it during, right? You've actually manually adjusted it. So that's the baseline, and then depending on what you're hearing during the service, you've changed it. So the next Sunday, you have to get back to that baseline.
Right. You just want to go back to the baseline. It's a good starting point. You also don't know who's been using the board before you, so someone during the week could have been doing something, and it's just better not to worry about that. So,
but if nobody touches the board and you come back, it's going to be left where it was.
Exactly.
So you're okay.
So say for example, right? I made change to the board and I left, and I come back next Sunday, no one's used it. When I pull it up, the monitors are going to be exactly the same, and the board's going to be exactly the same. So the monitors are actually linked in memory to whatever the scene is saved here.
Not only that, but you don't have the same musicians every week.
Right.
You have different musicians every week, so
you're setting for one week.
Different amps. And the next musician next week, well, I don't like this mix. So if you don't zero it out, or they can start from zero, then you're going to hear whatever the person had last week, and they might not like that mix.
Well, people play their instruments differently, drums.
Yeah.
Yeah, Charlie?
Hey, Dirk, when you add instruments, what about the mix for the monitors? Will those new instruments be in the mix for the monitors, or do you have to add that instrument in specifically?
That's another thing. If I showed you how to do that, you wouldn't remember. Yeah. And it's kind of complicated. So, unfortunately, that's not something I can show you guys today.
Quickly, yeah. Gotcha.
Just because I don't want to overwhelm you with too much, because then you're not going to remember anything.
But the fact is, you do need to do something.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that
Effectively, I'll just summarize it like this. remember I said sound comes from the stage to the board and then back out to the monitors. So if you're adding a new channel into the board, you also need to specify that channel goes out to the monitors. And you need to tell it which channel on their mix it's going to. So that's effectively, there's just one more step of configuration.
It's like mapping.
Yep. Okie doke. Thanks for sitting here. There's a lot of buttons, a lot of switches. The nice thing is, once you start to learn it, it's all pretty much like the same repeated tasks. So it's all the same mute buttons, all the same volume sliders. And
so are we doing another training, or is this it?
Tom was trying to schedule another thing, but a lot of people couldn't make it. So I'm going to work that out between him, see if there's another day that we can do something like this.
Do you have any notes of steps and procedures you've ever written down? Or?
I've never written anything down because there's really only been 4 people ever doing this. So once you train somebody, there's not a lot of other people. Not saying that's a good thing. Yeah, we should have written procedures and stuff, but you know, it's volunteer and you get back to the week and you got other things to work with.
Days.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Hours and hours.
The reason why I wanted to ask about the remote mics is because last night when that guy was here, I couldn't get the yellow mic to work. Or we couldn't get it to work. And then I noticed that there's a number on there, like 566.450, you know, and I noticed that that same number's on the mic. Is that the frequency?
It is.
And does it have to line up with the frequency for that particular mic?
Yeah. All I'll say about that is we use, so these are the 6 units, the wireless receivers we use for wireless mics, both handhelds and packs, mic packs. On a standard Sunday, we will use 4 colors: red, yellow, green, and blue. The frequencies are already hard-coded. The mics are synced up with their wireless receivers. So the number that's on there, the frequency that it's transmitting on, shouldn't be the root of a problem. We've already gone through and made sure that none of these wireless units are on the same frequency. Because if you did that, then you would get this whistling, like kind of sound, and that would be a problem. See how they're all red right now? It's showing you that none of the units are on. If they're on, these screens are gonna turn to orange. You can also monitor the battery level from up here. So you can see, hey, there's only 1 bar. You can call down like at the end of worship or practice or something. Hey, I need you to change. And that's the other role of one of the setup guys, is they put in practice level batteries, so around 2 bars for worship practice, and then for the normal worship they'll put in full charge, so you don't run out. In the youth ministry, we like to stay on our toes, and we'll forget purposefully, not purposefully, to change the batteries after practice. So there's been times I've had to do hot changes during worship, like quick replace batteries because somebody forgot to do that.
So what would be the thing that would not cause that to go on? Because we had the red mic.
It would be a mute setting. It would be a mute setting on the physical handheld, and I'll show you that. Yeah. So the handhelds. Yeah. The handhelds are on the vocal layer. HH red stands for handheld red, and there's actually colored tape on the mic. So I'll show you that. Handheld yellow is yellow, handheld green and blue. There's really no convention. You guys will need 3 wireless mics, pretty much, handheld mics for worship. I usually like to pick yellow and red for the assistant vocalists, and blue for the main leader. Or green, really doesn't matter.
Green's got a bad mic switch on it.
Oh yeah. If you don't have to use green, don't use it. Just the mute button's a little messed up. Real quick, just so you guys know what this is. FX1 is a delay effects unit.
Which layer are we on?
We're on the vocal layer now, so this is the second layer. So effects, you can send a channel to a reverb unit to put reverb on it. 2 is for drum reverb, so it gets you get a little echo on the drums. 3 is a reverb that I use to send the acoustic guitar, so you get kind of a cool, nice little reverb for the guitar. Effects 4 is delay. That's kind of distracting. We usually only use that on like a special song, maybe on Christmas Eve, and you want to highlight a particular part. You can put some delay on the vocals. Yeah, and then that's the other stuff we talked about. So let's go downstairs and look at those wireless mics, and then we'll be good to
turn it off?
I'll turn it off because I don't know if there's anything on it.
expensive, but he patented it. So many
The older guys were laughing when you said, all 4 cylinders.
Yeah. What did I say?
You said you got to get all 4 cylinders going. All the guys close to 50 were chuckling.
Did I say that? Did I say 4 cylinders? I think my car's 4 cylinders. It sucks. It does not pick up.
He died a few years ago.
That's just me trying to talk while I'm thinking. Okay, so I already told you cords are over here for stuff. These are Cat 5s. These are for the M48s.
28-footer here.
Right.
14, 20.
Headphones that someone on the band can use if they need them. These are extenders for those monitors, so if they need to get some more length for their personal mixes. These are those iPod cables I was talking about, where you plug in your iPod. It's an 1/8-inch connector. You can plug these in. Okay, enough of that. Wireless mics are here. They're in these little boxes. They have a colored sticker. This is handheld blue, this is handheld yellow. I'll show you how to turn them on. Slide it out, take it out of the styrofoam. Alright, there's a red button on the bottom. Twist to the left. No batteries. We don't store them with batteries. You grab some practice batteries in the morning. Setup guy will usually do this. Throw them in there. Put it down, screw it in. Right? Automatically turns on. Right? You'll see a display with the number of bars, how much battery life you have. There's a button here, which is the mic mute, okay? If you push it in, if it's off, it means you're muted. Notice there's a mute button on the display. I always check the mute button, okay? If you turn it so the red light's on, there's no mute button. Check, check, check. I guess it's not on out there.
Did you turn off the soundboard?
No, I didn't turn off the soundboard. Check, 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 check.
See, that's why we couldn't get it. We couldn't get it to work last night either.
Let me do
the yellow one.
Yeah.
Troubleshooting real quick. Let me I'll power up another one so maybe you guys can hear what. This one you gotta turn on by holding down the red. The batteries aren't hot enough.
You use rechargeable?
Oh, I plugged it in wrong. No, we don't use rechargeables, unfortunately. Check, check, check. So that one's working. I gotta figure out why the yellow one's not working. Check, check, check. Mute it. Check, check, check. There you go. Check, check, check. It's muted.
Test.
If you hit the button once, it's gonna say RF mute on. Just hit it again. I don't know what the RF mute stands for radio frequency mute. I don't know what you would use that for. If for some reason you can't get it to work, like you have it unmuted, but for some reason it's not working, just turn it off and turn it back on because you might have put RF mute on. I'll look at that guy later.
Yeah, we couldn't get it to work last night either.
Did you try the red one?
I finally went from the blue, yellow one to the blue one.
Probably changed
the blue one worked fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it changed. Maybe somebody messed with it.
Yeah, it's possible. I'll check that. There's also some kind of pixelation going on there. Wireless mic for the pastor. These are the mic packs now. They're over here. So we use number 2. It's also purple. And we put in batteries. The battery box is over there. And the headset we use for the pastor is called Sennheiser Tip. It's the type of connection they use. And this is the pastor's headset. This is like a $500 microphone. One time we broke one of these just by snapping that part during a Christmas Eve service. So be very careful.
What makes it easier?
Sennheiser. These are very expensive. So it just goes over the ears like this, just so you guys know. And to get it to work, you hold the on button. I should probably put batteries just so you guys can see. Hold it, fires up. And there's a mute button on the top here.
Whoa. Yeah.
That's feedback.
That's feedback.
That's feedback. That's really loud. Interesting. You guys had it up how? Check.
I mean, there's something in here you don't know what it is.
Yeah, it does.
Wow.
I don't know why it's that
Something left
loud.
over from
Leave it
the
to me.
girls. that were fatigued, that were dressing in here.
Oh, okay.
See, I know where. Nothing escapes my ear.
So after service, the pastor will put this mic back in this box because we bring this box out every time just to kind of keep it safe. So the headset goes back in here, and the pack goes back in here.
Standing on the dollar. That's definitely OSHA. That's OSHA proof.
Yeah.
That'd be looking dangerous.
Jerry probably did that. But when I checked it out, I don't know what's wrong with it.
I was just asking who's responsible to fix these things when they go bad.
It's me.
Yeah. I think, Ed tries to take a look at it. I'm not sure what's up with that. Okay, so that's pretty much the simple, really wide introduction to everything that happens here. I don't expect you guys to remember everything, but the important things are knowing how do you get sound from an instrument into the stage, how do you turn it on at the board. That's pretty much the most important thing. So thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for being interested and wanting to do this stuff.
And you're going to come back and laugh at us from time to time, right?
I won't laugh at you guys. You wouldn't believe how many mistakes I've made in doing this over the years. But that's how you learn, through mistakes and stuff like that. So, thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for giving up your time to come.
Are you moving to Baltimore?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Supposed to be the end of this month?
I won't be moving until December because I still have to graduate college. So that'll be this
What are you
fall.
taking up? What are you taking?
Computer science.
Oh, okay.
See you, John. Thanks for being here, man.